let's say an alien race came down and took over the human populace. It is proved to us by them that they are our creators. We've been running around making our own meanings in life when our real purpose was to be placed here and let evolution take its course until we were fit to be slaves. These aliens created us to do manual labor as their own bodies had become quite frail. A trade-off for them evolving themselves to have telekinesis and intelligence way superior to our own. We were not made to be individuals. The aliens created us to be servants. Would you want to willingly submit to their rule? If not, who are you to question our alien creators? Now, as a misotheist, this is a good analogy to how I see God. A typical response would be the KJV Bible's, "Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to it that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?" And that's Romans chapter 9, verse 20. Basically, why bother arguing against your own creator? So today, I think I'll get in a little more to what I specifically believe, because I think a lot of people on here just automatically assume I'm like some sort of atheist or agnostic or something, but I'm not. So the question today is, does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? And I would say, in a sense, no, because, we're its creation. But in a sense, maybe right is not the right word, but having a reason to be mad at him, oh yes. Today on the panel, we have Sophia, Barney, and Anais. So who wants to start?
Come on, y'all. Don't make me do it, because...
Well, you're the one that might have an opinion already.
Okay, first, do we have anyone that says no in this group?
I'm undecided.
Undecided? Okay. If we're going with a right to, I would... That gets into right, so yeah, I think
right.
better.
Yeah, reasons. Okay, that's a better one. Okay.
First off, it would depend on what the properties of the god would be. So if we're talking about the omnideity with, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, then yeah, we totally do.
Mm-hmm. Right. Again, it would depend on those properties.
Yeah, but an omni being wouldn't need slaves.
Yeah, which is why we would have a good reason to be pissed off at them, because at that point, it's just
sadism.
Huh?
It's unnecessary, I think is the point he's making.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like really redundant.
It would be sadistic at that point.
In a way, I mean, that's kind of what, like, in my opinion, that's what the Christian religion kind of looking for. They want, like, servants.
Yeah.
Like, you're following God doing his will.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why would someone like that even need people to do his will?
Well, even in Revelation, like, it talks about they're going to serve him for the rest of eternity. Like, yeah, he's going to treat them well, but they're going to serve him and praise him forever. So, yeah, he's all powerful, but with all his power, what he did instead of, like, maybe getting things up to his level and having, like, I don't know what the fuck he would do if you're all powerful, but he just creates slaves so that he doesn't have to do stuff that he can just will, that doesn't cost him energy. And by the way, he's timeless, so, like, he can put off any activity for an infinite amount of time. He can be as lazy as he wants and still get things done the exact moment they need to get done.
Right.
Which
And you don't quite, if you don't quite follow him, you kind of go down to the other place. So there's that.
The torture chamber. Bad slave, bad.
Right.
Personally, I think looking at it like that, it's a lot easier to see that Christianity, from my perspective anyway, was created by men to enslave other people. It wasn't a god. It's got slavery hard-coded into the religion.
Yeah, it does seem to kind of have that, I guess, fear factor kind of thing going on there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, like, I don't know, I feel like it'd be a lot better if that kind of wasn't a thing, that you're just going to do it just because you want to. But there's a consequence for if you're not. So.
Designed to subdue.
I see.
To subdue or to be subdued?
Right.
Right.
No, religion.
Okay,
Religion is designed to subdue men.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I can kind of see that. So I mean, and to get me fair, like don't get me wrong, I do not like G-Man actually made a video about this kind of thing, and kind of not quite exactly misotheism, but he was talking about do atheists and stuff like that, do they hate religion and stuff like that. I'm not an atheist, but the thing is, I don't hate religious people, regardless.
Yeah.
I even have a tough time saying I hate religion itself, because I do think there are good things, that come from it. However, I'm not one to just ignore all the bad things, and I find that the bad things that do come with it are inexcusable, which is why, despite the fact I believe in the Christian God, I don't call myself a Christian, for one thing.
And the other thing I'd like to add here too. Crap! I already forgot what I was going to say. Way to go, Nasi.
If you do
I need to get more sleep.
3 deep
So
rhythmic breaths, don't think about what you're thinking about. Normally that can reset your brain.
since Shimon is the most important person in the world, I would actually like to address that.
Okay.
I do not think that religious people are evil. I have a lot of. I'm surrounded by religious people, and they're all wonderful people. And even the institutions, even the church, even the setup is not evil most of the time, but it has, of all the things that I know in the world, it has the biggest potential to be evil. Why? Because it teaches people all their lives to believe in something with no reason whatsoever except receiving the word of it. Which means if they receive the word to commit the most horrible atrocities because God wills it, they have no argument to fight against it. They can just say, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what I was going to say.
It's basically, go. Okay, go.
Hurry up.
My view is basically that religions are sort of unnecessary in the same way that any other entertainment medium is unnecessary. None of them necessarily have anything unique over the others, and you do it for whatever reasons you like. Like community is something that religion has, is something good that religion has going for it. But you can find community in literally anything. Video games, video games is one of my hobbies, so this logic also applies to that. You don't have to do video games in particular. It could also be something else you enjoy doing.
This actually touches upon what was this face? That dude that dude, I think his name was like Blackjack Reviews or something. He said to the effective on this community that reason why he thinks religion's going down is because it doesn't seem as necessary anymore for community. Because he actually brought this up, that back in the day, the church used to be one of the go-to places. Like if you want to meet other people and stuff, and have a common consensus over what you guys are about, you'd go to a church, and that's your community right there. It's like, oh, I believe in God too, that kind of thing, right? But nowadays we got even more things that you can have a common consensus of, and the internet's opened up a way where you can have online communities, so you don't even need to be living near the person anymore. And I think community is a big part of it. So
I mean, hell, my avatar is the result of the existence of communities. It's a long story, kind of, and you can ask peer review for further confirmation of the fact that it is indeed a long story. But yeah,
right. So I see some people in the live chat now. I will address some of the things that they're saying. I was going to say, if you guys want to join Link, just private message me at Thaddeus Trill on Google+. If I know who you are. We had a little bit of a sniper problem last time, so we're not just going to give it out to anybody. But, yeah. Oh, we got one more person in here. Tony. Oh, shoot. He just left. I didn't broadcast him in time.
Damn.
You could always filter them by requiring that they give a quick summary of what they're going to pop in to say.
Right. That's
at the very least. Then the people who snipe you have to have something to add.
Right. Tony, what's going on?
Guys? How you been?
Hey, man. So, do you have any specific thoughts on this topic right now, or no? Or
I think religion was made to control the masses. I think how religion, the only way religion can start growing again is if they had a New Testament. And they'd have to revise. I mean, they have to have a New Testament.
A New Testament. Holy man, that's
relate to any of this.
Wearing
you mean like Quran?
I have a slightly different view.
A little more modern.
Yeah, maybe not a New Testament, but maybe like a New Testament.
Maybe like a super duper new one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, I get you.
I think you could do it with science, because if you have a scientifically illiterate population that doesn't actually, know how to perform experiments and tests for themselves, you could form a religion without people even realizing it was religion that way.
But the question is,
what do you mean by religion?
That actually be a New Testament, though?
A system of thought that dictates the narrative reality, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, You're right. Religion may not be a control mechanism may be a better one than religion.
Yeah, and I'm just
as far as my views on religion and it being made to control the people, I don't think that that's necessarily what religion was. I think more so it was the natural outcome of the social communities that people were creating, and things evolved over time out of ignorance. Right. And when people started to become figureheads, either intentionally or unintentionally, selfishness kind of naturally grew out of that, and people started to figure out ways to control people.
Yeah.
People will corrupt everything.
I would say, if anything, you could say that dickhead humans corrupted religion.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was gonna say if we were to make like a New Testament or whatever, would that actually be valid? Because the whole point of it is supposed to be inspired by God.
Exactly. That's why I'm thinking they'd have to have some kind of. If the Vatican would do it, they'd probably implement that new, what is it? The new, where it's almost like a hologram. Yeah, they do a hologram of Jesus showing up someplace. Like they'd have to. Yeah.
It's a psyop.
Yeah.
A psyop.
A psyop. Well, what else would it be? But it would have to be something big, or some big ass statue would start crying. So that's something.
Oh, wow.
Anthropologists tell us that they understand how the whole shaman versus chief idea developed within ancient tribes and ancient tribal cultures. They know that. So it was a matter of the chief took care of the practical secular things, and the shaman was assigned to be responsible for the unknown mysterious things, the things that didn't have an explanation, like where did the lightning come from, where did the floods come from. This was the shaman chief divide that was developed. And so of course you're going to get chiefs that get power hungry, and you're going to get shamans that get power hungry. And it's just sort of the nature of how power works. It was at one point useful, and now it's not.
Yeah, it's useful. Just like anything else, you can't get addicted to it. If you get addicted to it, you overdose on it. And...
Right now, can I just, if I can just, make the conversation kind of go back the way it's supposed to be going? Tony, do you have any particular opinion on the question that's posed by the title of this hangout?
What's the question?
Does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? That's kind of the whole point. We can't look on attention.
Yeah, if this is all real, then yeah, I think he does. I think it. There's definitely he's disappointed, let down some. How about the Chinese? Maybe they don't even talk about the Chinese in the book, right? There's a lot of tribes and people that was left out of the book.
I see.
That,
so
I
it's
think
more
would be like.
So for you, it's more of an equal representation thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so vague. In reality, it's a pretty vague thing because, I mean, really, it was just all about that area right there. So,
even if we were created, the fact that we, under both systems of analysis, have something that seems to approximate free will, that would dictate that we have to be allowed to be angry at what we choose to be angry about. So, if our perception of our reality is not necessarily 100% trustworthy, it still is our reality. We still have to deal with it the way it is.
Exactly.
And so if we see things and we have enough sense to know this is just, this is unjust, we have the right to be upset about these things. And if it was a God that was responsible, then if anyone ever actually proved that he was real, it would be the most unifying factor in human history. We would have shaman and, you know, Indiana Jones type people scouring the earth for any way to meet him mano a mano and take the guy out. Because if the Bible is any kind of record of his character, he's a vile, evil creature that needs to be destroyed the moment we have the opportunity.
Yes. Only problem is that you probably would not be able to destroy him. That's the thing.
Hey, pretend I said that, okay? That was a lot better than what I said.
I would have faith in science to a certain degree that if we didn't have it now, sooner or later, like someone somewhere would figure out a way. Because think about it. Think about the paradigm shift that has occurred. If God was ever actually shown to be true, then we now have some way of testing the supernatural realm, which is not something we have access to now. So we would suddenly have the capacity, okay, well, if I do this, does this affect the supernatural realm? If I do that, does that affect the supernatural realm? And the second you find something that's capable of affecting a supernatural being from the natural realm, you've got war.
Yep.
Damn it, Barney, you have stone tools. You can kill those zombies. They're a dime a dozen.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing.
Great. I like that answer.
Well, here's the thing. If it's like,
pretend I said that.
Okay, but if it's like if there's three omnis though, if he could do anything, and he could be anywhere, and he's all powerful, like and he knows everything, I don't think you'd be able to.
Yeah, he knows
about that.
What do you know about abused children?
What?
One of the counseling sessions that's involved in dealing with abused children is the recognition that they are completely powerless in the situation they're in. And a lot of them have various different coping mechanisms for dealing with it. Some of them cower, some of them fight back, even though they absolutely know that they're in no position to be able to fight back. Sometimes they know it will result in a fate worse than death.
Destruction.
Okay. So wait a minute. That's actually a good idea. Like you're saying is almost like a coping mechanism. Like you would not be able to defeat God, but you'd try.
But do you ever surrender? Is there ever a justification to surrender? And there isn't.
Right. Okay.
And you don't really know that until it happens to you. You don't really know the answer to that question until you're faced with it.
Implying you can know anything.
There's also another thing to consider with the whole Omni thing is, all right, let's say there is a creator. Could they just be lying about being an Omni being? Like, isn't that one of
that is possible? I mean, don't get me wrong. No, that's a really good thing. Like, you're right on the money right there. That's good. Like, awesome. Keep up good work. But the thing is that if we're going by the Bible here,
but if we're going by the Bible, he has lied.
What do you mean?
He told Abraham that they would have an everlasting covenant.
What do you mean? He lied about that? How?
Yeah, he has, because that's the New Testament is the new covenant. It replaces the old covenant if Christianity is true. If you go just
know what the old covenant even was, though? Maybe it doesn't contradict. Like the old covenant, if it has nothing to do with what the new covenant is, that old covenant can still be going on.
All right, so part of the old covenant is kill people who break the Sabbath. That's part of the old covenant.
Are you sure it's not just his rules?
Absolutely. That's
Jesus
part of the covenant.
Bring all those before me who do not wish to listen to my message and slay them with the sword.
Internal consistency is really complicated for an Omnigon. Come on, we got to give him a chance.
Yeah, he'd have to have like one hell of a blackboard to write down everything he's done so he doesn't trip up and repeat stuff.
Right. Well, we're
contradict stuff.
Yeah, you go. Oh, wait, I said I was going to do this. Nope, I did that earlier.
Yeah. But, or how he said he'd lead. This would be not so much outright lying as dishonest.
Sophia, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to.
I'll give you a bag.
But
go ahead.
If the premise is correct, does God have any responsibility to show any remorse or anything towards us, even if we are angry? Like from his perspective, are we anything more than Lego pieces?
Well, hey, well, think about this: when you were younger and you built like something out of Legos or Tiddlywinks, whatever, and you spent a little time on it, and so your brother came and ripped it apart and broke it in front of you, you'd be
you'd be disappointed. But would you at any point show some kind of I don't know, pity or consideration for the Lego man?
Yeah, that was the loaves and fishes. That's when he was like, "Oh, you know what? I should give him something. Here, how about some loaves and fishes?"
Well, so actually, a really interesting little kind of commentary on this is a game called Undertale. They actually address this issue with video game characters. Like, if the characters are real, if they're actually conscious, should you even be playing video games? Is kind of
yeah, because that's interesting.
There's a game that I saw a video about. I can't remember the name of the channel, but I can find out. It was a video critiquing a game called Soma, and it also delves into this a little bit with the idea of a little bit of questioning sort of what is the meaning of people when you can copy brains and put them inside of machines and create digital, basically simulations of brains that are effectively people.
Okay. Yeah, we're coming up with that.
I suppose I should go ahead and say spoiler alert. That basically spoiled kind of the plot of the game and what made it so interesting.
Okay, so what system is it on?
I don't know, but I found the video. It's from a channel called Joseph Anderson. The video is titled "A Critique of Soma." S-O-M-A.
Yeah,
I don't suppose any of you.
Soma's a lot of things.
I don't suppose any of you remember that YTV show Reboot. Like time ago. Exactly the same premise.
I don't remember half all these weird things from my childhood. Maybe
we didn't even have a childhood.
Well, that's no. Let's not get into film. No, we're not going there.
I don't like. Yeah, I'm okay with
I can tell you how to end the conversation anytime anyone goes down that path.
How?
Because essentially, you only can understand that you're alive, that your consciousness is there. Okay, you can't control your consciousness. You can't control the world around you. So you're resigned to deal with your reality as you perceive it, because there are no other options. So anytime anyone wants to run down the solipsistic path, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't change anything.
Yeah,
you still have to deal with reality.
Okay, just a second. I'm trying to be.
I'm trying to stab a knife into it. So I'm going to avoid that.
I'm trying to be like a good moderator here. Max came in a thing. Did he want to say something? Because he had
the thing is, I just got intrigued by the whole conversation idea and the whole thing, and right now I'm really enjoying hearing about the Soma and Undertale and things. I'm actually a huge video game fan. So
nice.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I wanted to address quickly was Sophia was making some claims about the Bible, and Wayne in the side chat, Wayne Fillmore, he's saying you're lying, and he's saying chapter verse, show me. Don't let him smack and run.
Hey, could one of you mods let my link into the live chat? It's the Soma video I was talking about.
Basically, I'm not reading the chat right now. I'm on my phone instead. So basically, I just wanted to address the whole issue about, is a creation supposed to be mad at its creator?
Yeah, that's the topic to be appreciated.
Yeah. So my whole view on the God, since I am an atheist, so basically I wanted to cover it from a perspective. If something can literally kill and wipe out the entire civilization with just a basically movement of its hand, should we not be mad at it if something goes wrong? Like, let's say Noah's Ark and things. I don't know. Just the whole
or hurricanes that are going on right now, or
yeah, the hurricanes and things like that.
Oh, so this is more
being so destructive and doesn't seem like there's a use for it, or it's just natural. Why are they here, and what's the reason? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to explain.
Well, so this is more like the problem evil type argument. Like if God is so powerful and stuff, and why is there evil things?
Yeah, we do always look at the evil stuff. I mean, we can sit here and try and, what would we praise him for? Then that's another good question. Like, what has he done that we should praise him for?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's one of the things that I always wondered. What are the things that we should praise him for? What are the things we should blame on him?
But if he does exist, and if he did create us, and if he did create everything that there is as religion...
Hey, Barney, I don't know if you still notice this, but you're still screen sharing. I don't know if you want to or not.
Yeah, I know. I'm playing the video that Sky sent.
Well, there's going to be no context or anything without voice or nothing, and I don't want to get this copyright striked because it's not my channel.
Okay, sorry. I did not consider that.
So there was text on screen that said gameplay is good, but the story is shit. So and the point he was making is Soma is the opposite of that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve.
I do that all the time.
Wait, I must be like mentally retarded or something, because now I don't remember if I accidentally flipped the order of what I just said.
I don't know. Who knows?
Whatever.
I don't know. Just, what he was talking about before, though, that does seem more of a problem of evil kind of thing.
Yeah, because evil, you remember evil. Like, let's say, like
right.
at work, for example, when you're at work and you do good for a year and a half, but you fuck up once, it's that fuck up right there they're going to remember. They'll remember the fuck up. And they forget all the good stuff you did, usually.
Yeah, that's
because they don't ever write any of the good stuff down. They all, there's a complaint sheet, where they got the, problems with this worker. Or...
The point that I was trying to make before my copyright strike was if all of it is true, if religion is true, if God is the omni everything who created us all, the only logical conclusion is that you do not have the capacity to judge him. You do not have the capacity to estimate what he's doing and why he's doing it and assign any judgment to what is being done.
Yeah, but why?
In a sense.
I mean, why should...
But the thing is, if we don't have any compass, then we're basically going on pure chance here whether or not this God is going to end up being good or not.
Right.
Exactly.
So stick to our compass.
If he is the creator. So if there is an objective truth which is knowable, and we do know it, that he is that which is claimed that he is, in that case, you cannot possibly judge him. So I'm switching my answer to the stream question to no, we cannot be angry at him. Assuming certain conditions. If there is any doubt left, if there is any possibility to be doubtful, then yeah, you can be pissed and you can be doubtful and you can fight him and you can do whatever you want. Otherwise, no, sorry.
My answer to that is a very confused ambivalence towards the question because of different things about the subject that sort of strike me here, like the fact that giving a shit about things or criticizing God, morality and all that stuff. That's sort of arbitrary. We value those things, so in a sense we can, but at the same time we don't have a reason to that necessarily gives us an objective reason to do so. But without that objective reason, that also means that we can give a shit if we want to. It kind of swings both ways in my head.
It does.
That's the free will thing. If you have free will, then you can't be given a situation where your free will is being denied.
If he just wanted slaves and didn't want us to be angry at him, then he could have just made us slaves.
Yeah, that's another thing that kind of bothered me too. It's like, why even... What was it? Why even have us have the free will and stuff or in the first place? Because if all you want is a certain result anyhow, then giving us the free will to a chance where we can choose what we want to do, that's just counterproductive.
Yeah.
Apology in the live chat said, why is it necessary that a creator must be good? Should my computer programs assume that I'm good? Well, not necessarily, Apologia, but the difference is the programs don't think. What's the point in creating sentient programs that are meant to do things that don't require sentience?
There are many.
I mean, do those machines that build shit in factories, those automated factories, do they need sentience?
No, they don't.
Yes.
In fact, it might be counterproductive.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. That's why we're working so hard to create AI.
Yeah, but if we create AI that could potentially suffer or feel pain, would it be right to do things just to check how they react to things? And if we do make them suffer, would that make their pain lessen since we created them? Or
that's going to be a very interesting and relevant question in about 10 years.
That's a good question.
People say this about their own kids. You hear people claim that these kids belong to me. I can treat them however I want.
Yeah, that's messed up. Yep.
And so it's the
And
same
don't
line of
forget-
reasoning
You know what? When
going
you
on.
put it in that sort of context, that does make it even more messed up. Yeah.
Don't forget that we're a species that held slaves up to very recently.
Yeah.
We still kind of do if you look at how employment and money actually work.
No, that's all voluntary.
That's going on in politics, man.
We
Steve
just
McCrae
make
doesn't want. Steve
I mean,
McCrae
we
doesn't
all
want
do need
politics.
money.
Moderator,
Hold on.
shut up.
Let me
Hey,
address this.
I'm the god in this hangout.
Okay, can I address that? God.
No.
Sure.
Okay, if you say it's
Sure.
voluntary, go ahead and go be homeless for a while, or better yet, if you want to completely detach from society, go find a place in the United States. I'm referring to here. Go try to set up camp somewhere in the United States and see if the law doesn't come after you sooner or later.
Hey, year
Oh,
and a
by
half
the
ago,
way,
I was
real
homeless.
quick,
I was
I
homeless for 2
misunderstood.
years.
All right, so you know what that's like.
Yeah, no,
you can
I-
say it's a choice, but that's like you
I'll find
can.
it. It's hard to get off the grid.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, when I
Really
was in
quick, I
Hawaii,
misunderstood
Hawaii,
Pelagia's
we
point.
were
I
able
just
to
like
do
the
it.
correction to be spoken here. Pelagia said, "I'm not talking about right. Why should they assume anything about me?" Just want to go ahead and say, just want to get that clarification in the stream. I don't like misrepresenting people.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay.
I'll just continue speaking to him in the live chat instead of in here. You guys go ahead.
Okay. Hey,
Well, you
sure.
got to think about this, like exactly that whole solitude stuff. Imagine being alone with just what you have in your brain and around you to keep you company. And now, what would you do? I mean, you slowly go insane, or I don't know, you build something really cool. But either way, you're gonna go a little mad. And
Right.
now think you're going mad, and you have power over. You're magical. Imagine the crazy shit you're going to come up with. You're going to come up with fish living, or humans living in fish. You're going to be it's going to be crazy.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see this. You're saying that he could have easily have painted some sort of like false narrative in a sense, make him seem all good and everything, and then there's little hints of his madness within there.
Yeah, he's going. Sanity's leaving.
And that gets into an interesting topic of should we be sympathetic towards them?
Yeah, but let's see it from this perspective. Most of Christians see him as this perfect being, right?
Yeah, that's
So-
the thing. Like he can do no wrong, like in their eye. Like, everything is for a purpose. That's why they have to end up using they have to make up their own flippin' version of the word good. Because when we use good, it's not the same type of good as God's good. And then you have to play this weird definition game where it's like, okay, I'm using good in a colloquial sense. Then it's like, well, that good isn't valid. And it's like, well, you can't even argue with that. So
Exactly. So if he actually did go a little mad, I mean, in that case, doesn't that make him a bit less of a perfect being? So if he's susceptible to madness as we are, so at one point, someone has got to ask a question: how mad can he get? I guess.
well, I guess the thing is, it's not even. You don't even have to be mad in order to pull off the kind of stuff that he does. You just have to be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to be able to have the capacity to think it up, whatever he wants to do.
Right, exactly. Like it's his world, his rules.
These sorts
kind
of
of
questions were big back in medieval times when they were all arguing over what God's nature was. And there were many arguments that included the idea that he wasn't a good guy. And what was it, Thomas Aquinas? He came up with those 5 different ways that God was, like, you could prove God exists sort of thing. But it was essentially by assuming that God was a special pleading case out of the very thing you were talking about. And that seems to hold true with almost all of these justifications. God is good, but he's a type of good that's a special pleading out of anything we call good. You know, he's the first cause, but he's special pleading outside of anything that we would call a cause. You know? So it's like it's immediate. If as soon as you know that that's what's going on and that all these arguments are special pleading, it really ends the discussion.
Well, yeah, because then you can't be in the common consensus anymore. So it's like, if you're using good in a different sense than, people would normally, what they normally consider good in the collective morality, you'd have a tough time even calling that morality, so collective values of people, but they would consider good, and you're using it in a different way. It's just whatever the Bible condones, and it's like at that point, it's like we have two different definitions that we're working off of here. Let's not try to pretend like,
and that
I'm using
violates the laws
one.
of thought, the laws of logic, the laws of identity, because you can't sit there and have a conversation with two people who think the same word has different meanings. You have to agree on the same meaning, or else the discussion just doesn't happen.
Or define your terms or use like a different type of good, like maybe like there's biblical good versus colloquial good or something.
As long as you're able to give it a noun and a verb, you know, a unique one, so that everyone knows what you're talking about,
right?
Then yes, you can have a discussion.
Yeah,
rather than good, maybe holy should be the word used.
Okay, no, that's an interesting one.
How would you then define holy?
It's whatever God approves.
That's a really good question.
It'd be whatever God approves, because it's His world.
I mean, I found my dog holy, so I wouldn't know anything about that.
My sponges are holy.
Yeah.
It'd be like whatever God approves would be considered automatically holy because it is His universe.
Yeah, I guess I could see.
Yeah, but it's a way better distinction than just using the term good, because good is such a term that could be used to describe so many things. But holy is not used quite as colloquially as good is.
I think the word you're looking for is perfect.
Yeah.
Again, I find other things perfect, kind of.
Except there really is no such thing as perfection.
It's a loaded word, but do take into account that it's a concept that nobody actually really understands. There is nothing perfect in the world.
See you later, guys.
God would be the only thing.
See ya.
Bye. God would be the only thing in the world that is perfect. So.
But then again, if we strive to be like God, that near perfection, does that mean we should do most things that He does? Like,
No.
It's just
I can't kill someone at my altar.
I mean, it's just something that I always found kind of.
Well, actually, again, it's the whole special pleading thing. If you actually think about it, there's certain things. Here's the thing: like God has this morality and stuff. There are certain things He's able to get away with because they go, He's God. He knows that what's going to happen in the past, and therefore, when He makes these things that we consider deplorable, it's good because He knows what's going to happen and stuff, and we have a limited knowledge. But there's certain things that we're not quite able to do. So in a way, it's almost like the Bible presents two different types of moralities. There's the one that God has for Himself, that we ourselves can't quite do the same things He does. And at the same time, though, there's a one that we ourselves are supposed to follow to kind of become like Him, but we'll never be like Him because there's certain things, that we're not supposed to do.
Master slave.
So.
That kind of level that we can get to is supposed to be like limited. He's kind of unlimited, I guess, in his own way or something. I'm sorry, it's just like 2 a.m. here, and I'm basically at 6% of battery. I don't even know what I'm going on about here.
You're fine.
I don't know. It was pretty coherent to me. I've seen less coherent at earlier times of the day. So
yeah, there's me.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'm glad everyone is enjoying this.
Well, yeah, of course. But, like, I was kind of hoping there'd be some more, I guess, theists to join the conversation.
Yeah.
But it's like they all hide whenever I make I make titles like this, so they don't want to come
I'm doing my best to Poe, but I don't know.
Well, goddamn, son, I'm here, Ada.
Yeah, but you're more the nicer kind.
How much more in Christ Jesus can one nigga get?
Yeah, but you're more on the nicer side. You probably agree with half the things.
Oh, okay. You want a legalistic? No. You want a legalistic Jew-tile?
Sure, too.
We want G-Man.
You want somebody. Somebody mixing law and grace.
Yep.
Rational legalism. So you can
Yep,
bust his balls. Yep,
I want to see how
bust
they
his balls.
justify it.
I hear you.
Because I don't get to see them justified. Instead, you're usually in their room, and if you try to fight with them on this kind of stuff, and then they just kick you out.
I don't blame you. I'm a little butthurt over these legalist rascals myself.
See, you'd be the wrong kind of person to ask about this kind of thing.
I guess not. I guess, yes. Because I won't condemn you.
Actually, the legalists would be the good people to talk to about this.
Yeah.
Why is that? Toward what end?
Because they would actually counter us. They would say, like, they would have the counter position.
Yeah.
They would have the what position? Sophia, you're breaking up really badly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was also eating while I was talking. I think they would be the most likely to actually say, no, we don't. Here's why we don't.
Oh, that you don't have a right. You don't have a right to feel butthurt about God and how He runs.
You're just
okay.
Yeah, that's basically their argument. No matter how much they try and sugarcoat it as something good, it's like, no, get to the flip and chase. You're just going to say we're just basically his property. Just admit it. Just admit your God's a jerk and that we're all his property, so he can do what he wants. That's what I want to get out of them. I know that's the answer half the time.
That's a frightening thing.
That's the answer when I talk to about this stuff with my mom. That's probably the answer I'm going to get from half the people here when it really boils down to it. They might try to dress it up as something nice, but at the end of the day, that's the answer. I mean, come on. That's the only answer you got. Because otherwise, if you're not going to give that answer, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up saying that something that's going to make God not seem all-powerful. You're going to end up saying something to make God not seem all-knowing. I know we don't want to make your God weaker than like that. You don't want to make him seem that weak. So the only other argument you have is he's a jerk. That's the only one you got, really. Or, God's ways are not our ways, but again, that's kind of a cop-out, but, whatever.
Or the total depravity, like, we are so evil that we think that what he does is
a valid cop-out.
Oh, you're truth suppressors, because you don't hold the perfect doctrine and mantra and dogma. Oh, the orthodox dogma you must hold and you must confess, or you are not in Christ Jesus. Yes.
You sound like a Southern Baptist.
Well, thank you very much there. Thank you very much there. Yeah. I guess
that's all.
Actually, I've heard some edifying preaching out of men who called themselves Southern Baptists. Charles Stanley, First Baptist Atlanta, turned me into a Calvinist back in '86. Bless his heart.
I always thought
you understand. He doesn't hold
brimstone Pentecostals were the funnest ones to listen to.
See, the only problem is that
you want to go tongues? I'll go tongues.
He doesn't hold normal Calvinist views though. He holds mega ultra Calvinistic perspective.
Thank you for that proper representation. Thaddeus. Thank you.
In the Calvinist model, I would definitely argue, like any sort of God where predestination is a factor, I would definitely argue that the people who have to live lives of suffering and then end up in hell, they have every single right to be pissed off.
Right. Because in their minds, if I don't ever convert back to Christianity, in their minds, I would just be one of those people that was never elect, and therefore I'm just supposed to be a vessel of destruction.
Oh well, which Christianity did you deconvert from, Thaddeus? There's so many.
Yeah, I mean here Orthodox Christianity, that one.
Huh?
We didn't really call ourselves a denomination, so.
The Christianity. Oh, there is
the one true church. Just say that. I'm part of the true church. The hidden church.
The only one that matters.
The body of Christ. Is that what you mean?
The rest of them are heretics. The rest of them are heretics.
I deconverted from the, what do you call it? The only one that matters.
The true faith. The faith.
Like, Orthodox here are fucking insane, basically.
Yeah,
sorry for the language, but
there are as many Orthodox Christianities as there are rascals who contemplate Christ Jesus.
Yeah, I know, but here it's basically boiled down to like every saint is praised. Like basically every day in the year has some sort of a saint that is praised, and basically everyone here is so... I don't even have the word. Basically, they all believe in Jesus. They barely go to church, but they are comfortable with being like all, yay, let's stone the gay people and something like that. So yeah.
Oh, so you mean the hypocrites?
Kind of. I mean, the whole country is like that, and we're like Christian nation.
I guess
so you mean the hypocrites?
I guess some of us can't be
the single
perfectly...
hardest thing for me to understand about religious people, like not religious people, about Christians. They have a God who comes down and says, "It is not upon you to judge. The judgment is solely for the one in the kingdom, right? Do not throw the first stone. Embrace, forgive, shows through examples, all of that." And what you get is the most judgmental group of people that I know of. No. If you're gay, we have to outlaw you. We have to outcast you. If you're an atheist, we have to outlaw you. We have to outcast. Wait. What happened to God's gonna judge me? Leave me the fuck alone.
I like how people in the live chat are talking about the Fodor argument. I'm like, dude, this has nothing to do with that. That's the whole biology versus, like, seriously? Come on, guys.
I guess all us saints can't be perfectly ungay in every way at all times, I guess. Yes, there's little judgers, there's little condemners. A man condemns according to what he condemns himself for. So watch out, condemners. You're letting the cat out of the bag. Oh, yeah.
I strongly disagree with the condemning based off of what you condemn yourself for, because, like, I condemn people who skin people alive. I don't do that.
Okay, well, it might be related. Would you condemn yourself for hitting your friend with your fist hard, or condemn yourself for being a bit sadistic, or...
I took turn the other cheek so seriously that I would actually let people hit me and I wouldn't kick back.
Yeah. Ouch. So I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's no big deal. It's a learning experience.
Well, Christ Jesus was talking to people under the law when he said this: the measure you give is the measure you receive, pressed down and overflowing. He was talking to people under the law, but us, we drink of wine from vineyards we did not plant, and we live in houses that we did not build. By grace, I'll knock the shit out of somebody if they got it coming to them. That's right. By grace. Amen. Grace, man. Yeah, it's different than law. You can discern what is good and wholesome and yummy and tasty. The law obfuscates vision. But grace,
here in the live chat, people are still talking about the James Fodor argument. So I'm just gonna quickly give my 2 cents worth on this, because I think this is a really stupid argument.
Can we be angry at God for creating Fodor?
Maybe at this exact moment.
Fodor.
I think
creating Ken Ham.
Maybe
Ken Ham is more damage to believers than.
Okay. Well, quickly, my 2 cents worth on this is, if I understand it correctly, and I could be wrong, what James was trying to say with his argument is the fact that the natural selection thing, like, evolution could still be a thing, but natural selection can't, because it's like nature itself is not like an intentional force that is directly influencing things. And that's kind of interesting, because from a naturalistic point of view, I mean, you're kind of right. But the problem is that I don't think people are using natural selection as if it is Mother Nature embodied.
Nobody's allowed to talk about fodder until Steve submits his report from the super secret closed meeting.
Oh, yeah, right. Forgot about that. Right, yeah, right. Okay, that's fair.
Once we hear what our elders have to say about fodder, shall we decide?
Right. Okay. So yeah, but the whole thing about James Fodor's thing is it's all undisclosed. However, I will say that half the deep philosophy things do kind of annoy me. And if you think I'm stupid for saying that, debate me. But anyways,
okay.
So back to the whole: does God's creation have a right to be mad?
you. Don't do that.
Deep philosophy is fun, and that's the only way you should ever look at it. It's entertaining thoughts that shouldn't have been thought in the first place.
Oh man, you just get so stupid with it. But I mean, I already had a conversation about what I feel about deep philosophy, so that was fun because Rational Theist Matt came. So,
Oh, goody. Favorite intelligent person in the world.
I'm pretty sure he came.
He always feels so stupid.
Oh man, but he's not here. It's like all the theists stay away when I have like the best question for them right now. That's dumb.
Can I ask an off-topic question for anybody willing to answer? Which is, why do you debate? What's your personal cause for debating? Why are you a part of the great debate community?
We already had a conversation. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm new. I was not part of that conversation, and I am not going to watch all the streams that ever happened before us.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. Good enough. All right. Well, I'm on it for entertainment. I like saying things to stupid people. So, or people who have stupid arguments. However you want to say it.
Mine is slightly different. I like saying stupid things to people.
Ah. Aha, I see what you did there. Okay. Sophia, you're breaking up again.
I'm sorry.
No.
I said
get that microphone in here.
I said the great troll community.
Oh, they're troll community. Don't feel that bad. We're not all that bad. Come on now.
I don't like debating. I like having we label this a debate, but I like discussions like this, and that's what I would classify this as because we don't really have any
right. No, I understand. Yeah,
objecting or contesting. I like discussions because it's an exchange of ideas. That's how we
actual
advance.
Formal debates are pretty boring, in my opinion.
They're frustrating.
They're essentially meant to
they
be
should
a kind
be
of
a
record.
culmination of discussions. Like, okay, when everybody has enough information and is well informed, let's have a half an hour slog out who can spit out their arguments fastest and most coherently.
Yeah, you're not really trying to resolve the issue at that point. You're trying to make it sort of a public record of the nature of the discussion.
Yeah.
And the decision will probably be made by people in the audience. The two people debating probably won't have any effect on each other at all.
Well, of course. I mean, but that's the thing. You're not supposed to try to convince the person that you're debating with. It's about the audience, if you even can.
Well,
so,
I mean...
Oh, yay! Someone actually came into the conversation who might actually bring it on track. What do you know? All right. Hey, Floyd, what's going on? You're
hey, guys.
Podcasting now. Hey. So, what do you think about the topic, the actual topic? Not
you
the
guys,
topic
you guys still talking about the original topic? Does God...
Oh, yeah, we want to. We want to, hopefully. So please share your opinion if you can.
Well, yeah, well, my view is that, well, first you have to start about what criteria does anyone have to be mad at anyone? You know, what justifies being mad at someone? And then once you have that criteria, well, you can apply it to anyone. I don't see why it matters if the person has created you or is a creator or what status the person is. If you're justified, you know, if you have a justification for being mad for what that person has done, then that's enough. That's enough justification to be mad. Again, I don't see how it's relevant of who the person is.
Well, the only thing I'd say is that there's a difference between having the right to be mad and someone having a reason. If you have, I don't know if you have the right to be, because here's the thing: Christians that will probably argue that you don't have the right to be mad at a God who basically made everything and it's His world, His rules, kind of thing. You know?
Well, you know, that's that saying might makes right. You know,
pretty much.
I agree. You know, what is it that because God created us that somehow He has the right? I guess, you know, what does it mean to have the right to do something? You know, are you appealing to some authority? It sounds like, you know, an authoritarian viewpoint, which a lot of Christians have. They say, you know, oh, He's the authority. Since He's the authority, He's the judge. He can make up any rules He wants. But if you have a different criteria about reducing suffering, about increasing happiness and well-being, then that can be the criteria to be mad.
Right.
When my wife and I decide to have a child, our view is, we're going to do everything we can to make that child happy. We're going to baby-proof our house so the child doesn't get hurt. We fenced in our yard. We care about it. Our goal is, because we're responsible for this life, that this life is counting on us for our happiness, that we have a responsibility for that person's well-being. If this guy says, I'm just going to create something and I'm going to do it, sorry about that, I'm going to do anything I want with it, well, that tells you about what sort of God this is. He's a sadistic God who only cares about himself. It comes down to, does this God care about his creation or not? If he does not care about his creation and we're suffering, well, isn't that justification to be mad at this God? I would think so. Particularly if this God can do something. If it's no problem for this God to take care of its creation, it doesn't burden him. It doesn't take away any it doesn't take away from any enjoyment, or it doesn't create any hardship on his part. Then what's the problem? The problem with human parents is that human parents are limited. We're limited of how well we can take care of our children. If our children are very sick, like with cancer or something, we might be helpless to take care of that creature.
Someone sounds angry back there.
But a God is not helpless at all.
Right.
So again, what is the motivation of this God? Is this motivation of this God to help his creation, to love his creation, to care about his creation? Or does he just care about his own glory, his own selfish, petty ego?
And I feel like theists could somehow make it. Well, I mean, I'm technically a theist, I'm not a Christian, but Christians can somehow technically twist it around so it's like a little bit of both, where it's like you got a bit of like he does care about his own glory and stuff, but he also does still help the human somehow. Sometimes depends on the situation.
Well, if you're a Calvinist, God only does things for his own glory. Why does God do anything?
Yeah.
Because it pleases him to do so. Nothing more. That is the criteria. That's what John Calvin. That's a famous quote from John Calvin. Why does God? Whenever we ask, why does God do something? It's because he's pleased.
Right. If he's pleased doing a lot of things that we consider pretty messed up, I think in some ways you might have some splaining to do. But hey, that's just my opinion. So I probably don't have the right to say it. But anyways, yeah. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but again, I don't think it matters who the person is. If you have a criteria of you have a good reason to be mad at someone, why I hardly see why it's relevant of who that person is, whether he's a creator or not.
I guess the thing is, I guess again it's just more of a might makes right kind of thing. Because before you came in, I think I remember saying that it's all about either. That's why I want to get some Christians in here, because like the way they'd argue is like the only way you'd ever be able to argue it is either you'd have to make your God less powerful by basically saying, oh, he's not powerful enough to do it any other way or whatnot, with the whole sin problem, stuff like that. Or you'd have to argue that God's not all-knowing because he couldn't have figured out a better way to run this world without the fact having sin and all this stuff be a problem. Or B, you would just kind of have to admit that God's a jerk. So there's only really three different ways.
Or you have to realize that you do not have the capacity to understand God.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But I feel like that's more of a cop-out.
I don't think so.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like if it's the butterfly effect, like
all right,
the fact that you have a tumor means that you will take one step left here, and the gravity or the quantum state of your particles will influence another planet in another galaxy billions of years from now to stop a flood and save the lives of billions and billions of creatures would justify the fact that you got a tumor and had to suffer a little bit. But so an omnipotent, all knowledgeable creature would know that, would be able to calculate with that effortlessly, whereas you could hardly ever comprehend it.
Okay.
That's one tiny little example of a whole universe, right? If he truly was omnipotent and created everything, then he is actually the guy that's setting up each quantum state in the universe to create an outcome.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't have to be that way. He created it that way in the first place.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, but again, I'm not sure what it means to have the right. Have the right. Why do you need the right to be angry or be mad? I don't see how.
Well, really it's because matters. If he made everything and it's his universe, it's like, could you really say no? Because you're just part of his creation. Because he's going to get his way what he wants regardless, right? It's like, again, if we're going by even a purely Calvinistic perspective, then me doing what I'm doing right now, I'm already part of God's plan. I'm basically one of his vessels of destruction or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't think you need. I don't think you need a right to be mad. You don't need a right. But it's like a slave mentality. It's like saying, well, a slave has no right to disagree with his master. Right. A slave has no right to say no to his master. Since he's a slave, he just has to obey. There's a quote in one of my favorite video games, BioShock. One of the main characters, Andrew Ryan, says, "What's the difference between a man and a slave? Power, money? No. A man chooses and a slave obeys." Yeah, I think that's what's going on here.
What if you choose to obey?
Yeah, you're just a slave. You're to obey. You have no right.
I made it EPD.
Dragnot, since you're here, was there anything that you wanted to add? Because you've been sitting here silent for a while.
Yeah, no, I've been. I just wanted to say that Ozzy definitely agrees with Fodor's argument. He is in a complete accord. So, just in case anybody was wondering, he told me in complete confidence, but I'm spilling the beans now that he agrees with Jerry Fodor 100%.
Right, but did we get any confirmation from Steve though?
Steve is still lost in the weeds.
Oh, okay. Well, Steve, since he owns the community, only his.
Okay, for those of you who don't know,
Steve is sulking because
he's fucking joking.
Steve is sulking because he spent all this time preparing his math lecture, and then we hijacked the channel.
Yeah, no, he'll be all right. Like that's fine. No, we had a long hangout on Fodor's argument, and I think we're supposed to have two more. And I heard, I saw in the chat that Helena didn't get any of the audio, and I'm like, that's. So there's icons flashing, and I'm like, oh, okay, but that's fine. We had a good conversation. But yeah, I saw this hangout, and I'm surprised there are no Christians in here talking about this.
Yeah, I know, but we have so many viewers, and there's no.
That's interesting because,
that's a Christian.
And a few people brought up the thing about rights. Well, what do you mean to have a right to be mad? Like I can be, is there a certain level of indignance do I have to reach in order to have that right, or what is a standard? What is the criterion to which someone earns this right, or however we're conceptualizing it? Like I think to me the question is a bit loaded, but I was hoping we kind of suss that out. Because I think even I created my son, right? Is there a right that he has been granted to disagree with me or not disagree with me? He didn't come with a set of instructions that told me what he can and can't do. There's no tangible piece of a ledger or something like that with the capabilities of this newly created creature. So we're trying to ascribe like this intangible set of standards that are completely subjective. Like you can reject something just out of complete revulsion and have no rational basis for it. And so just based on that alone, yeah, you can just hear something and have a revulsion to it or an aversion to it. So I don't think that there is any kind of, you know, set standard or something, unless somebody can make an argument for why when you something, just by virtue of you creating it, it then has no rights or whatever redeeming to be rights.
Right.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think that needs
I
an
don't know if it's
argument.
right.
Just because you created something, you know, how's that follow that you have the right to do whatever you want to? How's that follow?
Yeah, except if you're the ultimate standard, there's no one else above you, then yeah. That's
well, it just comes down to Mike's right. I mean, that's
I know it does. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
That's the story of Job, right? You know, the story of Job in the Bible. You know, Yahweh says to Job, you know, were you there when I laid down the foundations of the world? You know, are you able to do you know, the wonders that I've done? You know, only when you match that will I give you an answer.
Oh,
you know, you're in no position. You're in no position to argue with me.
Right.
And Job's just saying, well, you know, why the hell did you kill my family and make me suffer so much? You know, I think, you know, what's the deal, God? I mean, I think I would want to know.
But no, I guess you don't actually have the right to know, and we're all just kind of stuck running around and just find out in the end whether the atheists or the theists were right. So
I'm sorry, Joe, but do you know how many hairs are on your head? Because you need to know that before you can complain about me murdering everyone you knew.
Yeah, hang on, let's get counting. Hang on here. Oh wait, there's too many. I'm not gonna do it. All right, no, not gonna do it.
And you could, like, that would have been a good little snarky spin off of that. Job just shaves his head and he's like, all right.
That'd be interesting. Of course, the story wasn't quite clever like that, but still.
Oh my God, if it was.
That'd be funny.
Sarcastic Old Testament.
Yeah. Maybe they made it happen in an alternate timeline.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to write the sarcastic Old Testament where everyone's just sarcastic.
the alternate timeline.
And that will actually explain why the world's fucked up. It's like everyone just kept being sarcastic and finally was like, fuck you guys, all right.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's why the flood happened. Everyone was just too mouthy with God, and he's like, I'm sick of these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
so how did this topic come about?
How did the topic come up? Oh, easy. Because there's a few hangouts I had before where I kind of did some interesting emotional kind of conversations where we get down to the deep whole suppressing the truth kind of thing. Because I think some people do struggle with that deep down, even if they don't admit it. And I got a lot of views for those originally. So I just kind of made another one that kind of goes on those same lines. And also, but it's not just a view thing, not just about views, but also I'm a misotheist, so therefore I do feel God exists, but I don't like the fact that God exists and stuff, and I don't like him. So I made some conversations that are more related to my particular beliefs, since there's probably no other actual misotheists in the community except me. So it is either ways that I can actually have conversations about what it is I believe. Otherwise, people just probably assume that since I hang out with Christians sometime, I'm a Christian, or sometimes people just assume that since I hang out with you guys sometimes, and I'm an atheist. So,
if I created a channel along those lines, it would probably be, why can't we all just get along?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would we just be arguing about things? That's mean.
No. Let's argue about things, but just don't be mean.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to hate people.
Excuse me, I joined this community exclusively to hate everyone.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
It's okay, I don't hate you for it.
This is like an extended version of high school in a way. There's like a lot of cliques. There's like Dragnot's clique and Steve McRae's clique and G-Man's clique.
I don't have a clique. I am myself.
Oh, really?
There are people who like me. I don't want people to rally around me for no particular reason because I don't like the idea of having some fucking mobile circle jerk. I would rather have people who are antagonistic towards me and challenge me at every corner. I feel that that's more edifying than people sucking my balls every 2 minutes.
Well, shoot. I mean, there's one kind of here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here. So I mean, that can be arranged.
I object to the premise that you cannot have a heated argument with somebody without, or that you cannot be respectful to somebody without sucking their balls.
You can. I was being facetious, but yeah, I would rather have people who are, I guess, polar opposites of me. But of course, they're to be cordial, not just a shit throwing contest.
Right. I understand. Yeah. Okay.
On the internet, though.
Okay. I think that's actually fair because I wanted to be challenged today too, but people don't want to be challenged me. So. But yeah, hey there, Troy. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man?
Nothing much. Do you have anything to say about the topic? Probably not, knowing you. I'm familiar with Troy. He's the tangent man. He likes to go off on a tangent. So.
There's so much going on in Drognut's, or however you pronounce that, his avatar. Like, god damn it.
It's like visual overload there.
Yeah, like I was trying to think of ways to be a sarcastic dick, and I'm like, there's too much. There's too much.
No, can't do it. It's like there's so much sympathy.
You have to know the inside joke to get what's going on.
Oh, I still found it funny even without the inside joke.
Okay, so Troy
because you know who I'm next to.
Troy is actually the high priest. So Troy, is it okay for us to be? Should we be angry at Zeno-sama?
No, I guess not.
Nah, see, Troy's a pretty laid back person. It's pretty hard.
Unless my cousin is here, and then you better be ready.
You cousin not fond of Zeno?
No, he's a very interesting person. He's one of those people that, like, if he doesn't like anything, he will tell you.
There you go.
Thanks,
Dragnut. He's inviting people.
If anybody knows who
please, let's get an opposing
Valentine is.
Yeah, I know who Pin Valentine is.
Have you been watching G-Man's live?
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of live things lately, and he's still going off some of the same things about the whole, do atheists believe this, and then do atheists actually exist? Are atheists mad at God? I guess I kind of got inspired by what G-Man did today with his whole atheists, being mad at God or religion or whatever, that kind of thing. So.
I'm not mad. I'm just so there's a certain point where you bring. Well, I'm mad at the point where you bring religion into politics and into schools.
But I don't think that's. Is that being mad at God, or is that more being frustrated with religion? Because I would definitely say I'm annoyed as shit with a lot of things that religion does and has done. Like God, like I am about as bad at God as I am at the military for not giving me money. Well, that was a bad example.
Right.
Troy, your audio is completely.
Yeah. So sorry about this. I will be back. I just have to use the washroom because I'm not a computer, so I do have to expel waste. Goodbye.
Oh no.
I'm trying to find a few.
To address G-Man's video today, does anybody of all the atheists here hate religious people?
No. I feel kind of bad for some.
People, no. Religions, yes, but not people.
There are some religious people who, like, I do not trust
individuals. Agreed.
Or
yeah.
There are certain people which deserve. Well, no,
they deserve not to be trusted until they figure out why
not
they're
exactly
being untrustworthy.
hate, but they deserve to be detested.
Right.
Yeah, like the faith healers who end up getting people killed. Yeah, I have every right to not like them.
Prosperity gospel preachers. Yeah, those guys.
Exactly.
They are scum.
And the people who take it. I mean, I don't blame them. It's smart, but the people who take advantage of religion to gain a political or military base, like to gain power, those are people who really piss me off because they could be.
They piss me off, but I don't hate them as much.
I understand
it's
it.
kind of my response that I give for
it's
House of Cards. People who watch House of Cards, they're like, how can you possibly like House of Cards? The guy's such a dick. And it's like, well, yeah, but he's the biggest shark in the shark tank. So you have to give a kind of respect to the idea of that kind of play. And I completely understand that the whole religious nature of politics is incredibly unpalatable. But I can understand if you wanted to get into politics to do the right thing and you needed to play the game a little. Yeah. I'm not going to say I can't understand the motivation.
Yeah. Especially if like you're going against, and this is like, I used to get pissed off about how basically to become president, you have to pretend that you believe in God or believe in God.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, okay, so you have religion, like the Abrahamic faiths are really good for building a slave base, which is a really good way to generate power. If you're going to go up against like more violent versions of those, you're just going to have to play ball with them.
I've always thought it'd be very interesting for a politician to go in and say, hey, I'm a Taoist. I'm like I'm the first religion. I'm the one that established all your morals. And it's like, so you can't say nothing, you Jesus freaks, because I came first. And like, if you want to talk about morality, you're going to talk about it on my terms.
Taoism came after Judaism, so I don't think that would work very well.
Are you sure?
Yes,
I think
Taoism originated 2,500 years ago. Judaism originated about 5,000 years ago.
Really? Yeah. I've never heard Judaism.
So somebody knows what ocean just.
Heard anyone say that before?
If someone knows what ocean just.
Like the Lao Tzu is the founder of Taoism. He was born probably around 500 BC.
Right.
I wouldn't put Judaism.
Point is, 500 BC is like Jews were well into existence and practicing Judaism before 500 BC.
Well,
even if the
were they
5,000 year
practicing
number
Judaism or were they practicing ancient
Judaism
Canaanite
around
religions?
2,500, the earliest, if not
2,500 is the earliest?
Yeah.
So you think that dawn of, like Rome is older than Judaism?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't consider Judaism coming about until monotheism.
Second Temple, yeah.
Yeah.
And anything First Temple can be ignored as a construct.
Yeah.
But Second Temple is about where it
I
started.
thought even like King David was like 600 or something like that.
King David was their
temple, but yeah.
King David was their King Arthur. To everyone in Britain, if you can make that analogy and understanding, King David was their King Arthur. The same sort of legendary.
Yeah, it is the same sort of thing, but there is references to a House of David. There's not really references to.
I hope that the stories were based off of something, but that's kind of the point. The best story is.
I'm not saying that everything about David is true. Don't strawman me there. It's just.
Yeah, I would say Judaism.
I think that David was probably a monotheist, though.
Yeah, I would say Judaism started around the Babylonian exile. I think that's when it really started to form.
Well,
the Babylonian exile. That's pretty late. Like I think that before that it was probably henotheistic because there's definitely a Jewish polytheism. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, even General brings up this whole point of there being like monolatry, is what the Christian view, and that kind of should be because he thinks there's other gods out there, but you don't worship.
He's kind of a henotheist.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
But he's also As I don't know, he's kind of an exception to the rule with a lot of Christians.
I don't know.
I think that his version of Christianity isn't very common.
I think you can divide Christians and atheists along the same line. You get the diplomatic types and you get the firebrand types. And if you were essentially a firebrand Christian, you'd probably be a firebrand atheist.
You could have a firebrand Christian with General Han Solo's opinions.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't see him holding to any kind of strong fundamentalism. I just don't.
No,
see
I'm saying he could still be a firebrand. He could let's just make Han Solo with the same opinions as he yells at people.
Well, that's not a firebrand. Come on, man.
What makes a firebrand? Does the firebrand have certain beliefs or what?
Essentially, yeah, you have to be a fundamentalist, literalist interpretation of the Bible and hold to the whole.
I thought that you were saying that firebrand, they were atheist firebrands.
Well, yeah. So the atheist firebrand are the ones that essentially were fundamentalists who basically turn around and say, "Hey,
yeah, I need to broadcast, Mister."
Okay. Your definition was strange because you were saying that a firebrand is like a literal interpretation of the Bible, which an atheist wouldn't be able to do that. But I just think that a firebrand is somebody with a shitty attitude, and I think you can have any set of opinions about a shitty attitude.
It's relative.
I kind of want to bring this back full circle, even though I know that the sidetrack train has no brakes. But multiple personality. Do you think you can help answer the question of this title? Because our original conversation, believe it or not, we had an original topic. Does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? If you're there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Shit.
I'm always mad at him.
Yes, right back to the beginning.
What do we mean by rights?
It all depends. It all depends. To be honest with you, it all depends. If you're granting that people have free will, then yes, you do have the right, whatever that means, to be mad at them. But if you don't have free will, then I think that would be the question. Because
I've never heard it phrased that way before. That's interesting.
If you don't have
the
free
question,
will, you do not have the
does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? And we're talking.
Who proposed the question?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, so what do you
I'm
mean
the
by
God of
rights?
this hangout, but I'm not talking about that God.
What do you mean by rights? When you say right to or the right to be mad?
I guess do you have the permission? Should you even be mad? Because if he created everything, he kind of do what he wants with it. Might makes right kind of thing. As me and Floyd were discussing earlier.
Saying ought you be mad at God or?
Yeah.
Or are you justified in it?
Right. I think that's a better question. Is whether or not you're justified.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's okay. Forgive my wording, but yeah.
Sure. That's why I was asking.
Okay.
Just to figure out what you meant.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely be justified, and I think that part of it is around what MP was saying. If you have free will.
Right. Okay.
Justification can be there. If you don't have free will, then the justification is actually probably better. You just can't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
guys.
Shh. There's no free will.
Guys, we actually have a theist in the room. We actually have a theist in the room.
Oceans is actually a theist, by the way. Just throwing it out.
I know, but I mean theist in the Christian sense.
Oh, I'm not a theist in the Christian sense.
Right.
You got a real theist now.
Okay, I didn't want to put it that way, but
I'm the real theist, and then there's Christian.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, right.
What are you? We'll have to hang out later.
Okay, so we have a quote unquote real theist now. So
hi,
hey,
it's just Richard.
Just Richard. Well, I tried my best to get real theist. He doesn't count.
He's a Christian.
Nah, look at that face. You can't be mad at that face. He's not a real.
Yeah, it's really hard. You're just gonna make me depressed, man.
Now he's just being quiet.
Yeah, I was gonna let you introduce yourself and say hello, but
I'm talking to more theists now to see if they want to join. So if y'all make this interesting, they may be interested in joining.
I am trying to make it interesting. They got to come in here though. I've been waiting.
We've only got one side right now.
Richard, is your mic working? Because we can't hear you. If it is. No, not working. I have no idea what's going on, but we can't hear Richard.
He got infected from Steve.
Plus, I know Richard might be in here is because he wants me to end this pretty quickly because he wanted to start his at 6. So
We could move to just a hangout, honestly.
he's like, no, don't end it. Okay, so I'm gonna. He says, oh, okay. All right. Oh, he's gonna switch computers. But anyways, yeah. He's probably gonna come back, and then we can actually have a proper conversation, like what this was supposed to be all along. I was trying
to get Max hangs out.
Ah.
He said he wasn't just going to come in a conversation and flop his dick down and intimidate everybody. So Max isn't coming.
I don't know, man. I wrap mine around me like 3-4 times. I'm protected.
Oh, I see.
Oh shit, you too?
Oh wow. There you go.
You guys are crazy.
Hey man, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you have a right to be crazy, right?
You know what? It's funny. Every time you ask a question in this room, it's like, what do you mean by crazy? What do you mean by right?
Yeah,
what the hell do you mean by what? What does what mean?
Socratic method.
Well, it depends, though. I mean,
so hold on. There's a reason for that. Okay. I mean, I'll explain.
What do you mean by what do you mean?
Justify that.
I don't know. What do you mean by justify?
Hey.
So this.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was on my laptop before, and for some reason it wasn't working. Sorry about that.
So, are you Richard today, or are you Robert? It's hard to tell.
Richard, am I wrong that you used to have facial hair?
Yeah, guys. I used to have a beard, but I shaved it off. So, yeah. What are we talking about?
Tired of being a man, I guess. I
don't know, just the usual. Michael Heiser in the New Eastern. No, just kidding.
Wait, really?
No, kidding.
Oh.
No. We have a topic called Does God's creation have a right to be mad at him?
Okay.
And so far, everybody has either said yes or no, but it depends on the context and stuff. So I wanted to see what your opinion was. Because we wanted some theists in here originally.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I do this, then everyone's gonna be against me. So let me just play off what you guys are saying.
Oh. Okay. So
we basically said essentially that as long as you have free will in the entire frame of the discussion, then you possess the capacity to critique any event. For its positive and negative attributes.
Well, yeah, you possess
the
capacity to do that, but that wouldn't mean that you have, like, you possess the capacity to do something immoral, but that doesn't mean that you ought to, right?
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
So it comes down to what criteria one must have to be mad. That's what it really comes down to. And if someone's doing wrong to you, someone's causing you to suffer unnecessarily,
forgive that.
Isn't that justification enough to be mad?
Well, I mean,
regardless of who that person is, that's my view.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Even in the Psalms, sometimes we have what are called Psalms of Lamentation, and in these Psalms, you see people who are legitimately angry with God for the suffering that they cause, but still, at the end of the Psalm, they'll be like, my praises to the Lord, or something like that.
Can't get too.
I think there are times
so you could be angry at him but still worship him. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also, I guess to respond to another part of that, to say the suffering is unnecessary. Well, I mean, purpose is something that is invisible. So if it's necessary or unnecessary, that's not something that you can see. You know what I mean? You can reason to it, and you can say like, well, I can't think of anything that would possibly explain this. But that would just be to say that you're ignorant of the situation.
That was my argument.
Skeptical theism.
That's what I said. That's why you can't be angry at God.
Well, I wouldn't even say that you can't be angry at God, because like I said, you have the psalmists who are angry with God. But yeah,
nobody said they were right.
Why are you saying that you shouldn't agree with God? then? Can you summarize?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm trying to.
I think I got lost in what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, I'm kind of lost in what I'm saying too. I'm trying to spit out the words accurately.
Got it.
So I think because anger is just like a natural reaction. It's something that just happens to you, you know. So I think you can be angry and you can express that anger, but still at the same time, like I said about the psalmist, they will still come back to this idea that I worship the Lord. So you can have this anger, but then you still find a way to work it out. You know what I mean? And still keep your trust in God.
The question of the topic is not how do you cope with your anger. It's
okay. Well,
I agree with this criticism.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, help me out here.
But yeah, I agree. That's sorry, I've reiterated my position twice already. I'm not going to take your time.
Actually, I kind of want to hear your position. You're saying that,
assuming that God exists and is what religion claims that he is, which I personally reject. But if I take that assumption on, then you cannot judge him because he is omnipotent.
Right.
Okay, I wouldn't use.
Wait.
Sorry.
Fuck off. So, if he is all-powerful, all-knowledgeable, all-good, and all of that, then you just don't understand. If he exists and created everything, and there is a way to know that that is so, then you cannot be angry at him. You can be angry, but you are not justified in being angry at him. You just don't understand. It would be as much of a justified anger as, I don't know, a child who doesn't understand why his father won't give him a knife, or...
I feel like we had this entire debate already when we were talking about hell. Right? Like, wasn't that pretty much what we talked about the whole time?
Yeah, not
I wasn't here for that.
Remember?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so
okay,
he wasn't here for that.
It would essentially boil down to that if we are all agreeing that you can't know the mind of God, therefore you couldn't judge.
Right.
Yeah, you would have to question anyone who claimed that they did.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of a thing. The whole again, there's only four answers you can really give to that.
Well, I guess
disagree though.
Yeah,
I want. Oh, go ahead first.
Well, I was just saying that I would be a little more nuanced than that. Like Carrie and I may agree about this, but I think as a general principle, if God doesn't reveal something like that, like his mind, his will, then we can't know it. But still, that doesn't mean that you can't know anything because he could reveal something else. You know.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you're basically just making excuses for his behavior. It seems like.
We're using an example of a general.
The problem.
Then
go ahead.
In accusations of a general, even listed, but we're talking about a situation where it's impossible to obtain that knowledge. So I think even within that analogy, you have two different criterion here for what needs to be established. Because even us lowest privates, I've been one of those privates. I've been able to tell what the general's purpose was, even though it wasn't expressly stated in the orders. So you can't do the same thing when you're talking about an omnipotent or supposedly omnipotent deity.
Well, you could speculate about it though and come up with possibilities of why he did something. And okay, listen. So long as one of those possibilities were actually possible, then you wouldn't be able to say that the general was really being nefarious, because you could still say, well, look, there's this possible world in which these states of affairs obtain, and the general is still benevolent, you know.
Okay. Are you justified on taking any actions on a speculation?
Wait, what?
Are you justified in taking any action that's
I heard
just
what
a
you said.
speculation?
I heard what you said, but I don't get it.
Okay.
Well, that was a short little thing right there.
Well,
you can speculate about many things. We all speculate about many things.
Yeah.
But in order to act upon a speculation, you have to have something more than just a speculation. There has to be something tangible that you can actually act on in some way.
Getting some background noise from somebody who made that.
I'm not talking about acting on. I'm talking about providing an answer to an objection. Like, so I'm not talking about acting on it. Like, if you guys say, oh, well, God would be evil if he did X, then you could say, well, look, there's the state of affairs in which God wouldn't be evil where he did X.
Okay, you're equating answer and speculation in that question. So did you mean answer or did you mean speculation?
Wait, what?
You're saying that you came up with an answer and you're offering it as an explanation for somebody who doesn't have this information and yet
okay, well, yeah, what I mean is that it's a possible model. So
okay, so with the possible models thing, I'm going to use children who are abused as an example. It is possible to come up with an explanation for being abused.
Yeah.
That seem like they're being benevolent, but I think that, like, at the end of the day, you have to look at the actual.
Are we dealing with problem of evil now? I just left.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what it all kind of boils down to in a sense.
It seems like that's what's going on. So,
well, that's kind of what that's kind of the underlying undertone.
Yeah, well, the thing about abusing children is that in and of itself is an evil. So I don't think there's any state of affairs in which abusing children would be justified.
Okay, so is allowing.
I will contest that.
You're not
going to be able to. Sophia was trying to say something.
Yeah.
Is allowing
contest
allowing
that.
Is it evil to allow children to be abused?
Define abuse. Like if the child
that's a question for Richard, because Richard was talking about abuse.
Sorry.
Right.
2 years old, being raped by your father. Is it evil to not stop?
I don't think that we have to bring in all the particulars of it. We all know what abuse is.
You always have to bring in
come on, guys.
So the
like in this conversation, rape always comes up. And I'm just just tell us. We can just say abuse and go along.
So,
you guys, let me know when I can check.
When let's say a parent takes a child and pumps him full of dangerous chemicals.
I just said you don't need to do this.
Please.
Like, he knows what.
Because it's relevant. No,
guys,
it's relevant.
Let me know when I can chime in.
Can I
let Hermione.
Please.
Okay. I want to let Barney finish, and then I'll let her do her thing.
Okay, so a parent pumps his child full of dangerous chemicals that make his hair fall out and make him vomit out all the food that he puts in. Is he good or evil? Well, that depends on whether the child has cancer and has to receive chemotherapy, doesn't it? The child does not have to understand that, cannot possibly understand that. So, from the child's perspective, he would be violated and abused. He would need to show respect and understanding for his parent and trust that his parent is doing what was best for him.
Yeah, but we're
talking a terrible fucking justification.
but we're talking about like
hang on, because we need to get to her.
Hermione.
Yeah.
Hermine.
It's Hermine.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can speak.
I just wanted some clarification with this discussion because I think it could be a good one, but I just need to have some things clarified. Number one is, I asked the question, what is meant by right? And Dragnut clarified that it's meant by justified. So if we're going to go from the standpoint of justified within this conversation, I want to know whether you are justifying it as independent of religion, which would be kind of logic and reason, or if you're justifying it based on what somebody that's a believer may believe, which is like made righteous by God. And that will, if I can get that clarified, that will lead to my second question. And so if somebody can...
Okay, so made righteous by God, that would be more of a theological construction about like the doctrine of justification. And that wouldn't be what we're talking about here.
You were talking about logic or reason. So then the question, the second point then goes to, from what standpoint are you building this logic or reason? And I just look at it because I'm more of a newbie to philosophy. Is it virtue, duty, or consequentialist ethics? That's all I need to know.
And you call yourself a newbie.
Yeah.
Well, I understand. I mean, Floyd, I think that's Floyd sitting there, can probably, make a joke out of me. But yes, that if we can at least, or maybe we can go through all three. I'm struggling with this question and consequentialist ethics, but 1 and 2, I think, are interesting with virtue and duty. So go ahead.
Into the philosophy again. Go ahead.
You're asking me?
Everything is philosophy, but
the objection is really close to problem of evil, so philosophy is extremely pertinent here.
Right. So that's why I'm asking: is it virtue or duty that you guys are? This conversation is bound around.
Yeah, it probably is. Well, I wouldn't want to speak for everyone, but it probably is closer to virtue. I wouldn't want to say consequentialist, and I know that that is like a major objection to the sort of model that I'm talking about, but I wouldn't say consequentialist.
I agree with you, and that's why is everyone here kind of on the virtue standpoint of it?
Probably.
I would ask you to clarify on those terms because I'm unfamiliar with them.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Wait, did you say clarify how we're thinking about these terms?
Yeah, like how we're defining virtue, duty, and consequentialism.
So I won't define consequential because I don't think that there's any support for it here unless people want me to. But when I think of virtue is just ways of behaving, of conduct. There's some things that you should and shouldn't do. And anybody who wants to clarify this better, I'd be happy to hear it. When I think of duty, it's like an obligation, right? Like human beings should, it might be more of the ought, I think that someone was speaking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if that's a good enough distinction, I'd like to talk about one of the two first.
I think if anyone else wants to jump in, they can, but I think duty would be more interesting because virtue, like what you should and shouldn't do, that goes back to do you know the mind of God? Are you omniscient?
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Well, I can't comment when you get into
if we're taking the logic and reason notion of the question, does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? I would like for just someone to pose one area where you think you have a right from a justified perspective based on duty to be pissed at God. And then I think I'd like to have a conversation.
Based on duty? Why
based on what?
To be angry or mad, though,
yeah, why?
Emotion and
I thought we just
fall under morality, strictly under morality, just to have an emotion.
I actually thought we agreed that we're going to talk about duty before virtue or consequentialism. That's why.
Okay. I mean, I actually agree with Floyd. Emotion is just something that happens to you. Like you can be angry. I don't know if that's even in.
What if there isn't some sort of deeper philosophical reason behind everything?
Yeah, I mean, there is a sense in which you could be. There's a sense in which you could be fueling your own anger, and that could be wrong. Like there are times when anger would be wrong, but I wouldn't say that just being hit with the emotion anger would necessarily be wrong. You should know how to control your emotions, and you shouldn't constantly be an angry person. But I don't know that that it would come up in a moral sense in the way that we're talking about it.
Right. I don't have enough anger right now to actually argue against that. See, so
you are a misotheist, meaning that.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm angry all the time, though.
This means that he's full of hate.
I was also
Lord when it comes to God.
Your label that you're defining yourself as is literally defined as hate God. So you're constantly
because it's not. Hang on. The reason why I call myself that is because saying simply non-religious is not specific. I'd like to just be a nothing, like no label around here. But people kind of want to know what you are and stuff, and it's like that's the closest, I guess, to what I am, because I do believe.
I mean, it is specific. Like, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So if you're a misotheist, does that mean that you do believe in God?
He believes in God. He believes in the Bible.
Yeah.
He believes in God and the God of the Bible, but he hates him. That's literally his position.
Right.
Okay.
But that's I'd rather not have to call myself something so extreme. But I guess it's closest. Yeah.
Would it be?
I'm able to get along with Richard. I talk to Richard nicely and stuff. So I mean, shoot, it's not like I have to be mad at the world like that. So,
are you just a bad Christian?
Bad Christian? What are you talking
Honestly, Thaddeus, I've literally never met anyone who would, like, there are people who say, like, yeah, I don't really go to church anymore, and they're just kind of backslidden. And then there are atheists who are like, well, I don't believe. And then I've never met somebody who said, yeah, I believe it fully, absolutely, without hesitation. I just hate it.
Right, that's Thaddeus.
Because that's the position you actually get put on here when it comes to this community. Because think about it. If I were to argue for being, let's just say I just called myself for the sake of arguing, I don't think it's accurate. I said, like I was just a really weak Christian or somebody who's like a backslider or whatnot, right?
No,
I would get on.
You're not a Christian.
Right.
That wouldn't be accurate.
Okay, well, this again, but let's just say if I were to argue for that kind of position, if I were to, I would go to like, different rooms and stuff. Like, I know you can say these are bad examples, but let me make my point because this is relevant. If I were to go to people like Antonio Fletcher's room or G-Man or argue for that specific position on the Bible thumping wingnut, if I were to do that kind of thing, the conversation would come up where I allow certain things they think are sinful or whatnot, right? I would say, well, hang on, I don't think this is wrong or should be wrong or whatnot. And they say, well, hey, the Bible actually proves it is wrong. It's like, don't you follow the Bible? Are you a true Christian and stuff? Well, it's like, well, I guess I don't agree that should be wrong. And it's like, well, I guess you're not really a Christian then.
No.
At that point, it's like, okay, well, in that point, it's like, screw you. I guess I'm not really a Christian then.
No, the problem is worse than that. It's not just about you being a Christian, because I would agree that you are not, because you hate God and you are not trying to follow God. So in that sense, you're not a Christian. But there is this. If you're saying I don't think this is a sin, but the Bible teaches it anyway, then I don't understand how that works, because you've said that you believe the Bible. So shouldn't
I said I don't think that should be a sin. I think
should be, but where are you getting that ought from? Because if you believe
from my own value system.
Okay, but if you believe that God exists, then that means you believe, right, that He is the locus of objective moral values. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, so for you to say, I don't think that should be wrong, what does that even mean? You're not appealing to anything.
Because hang on, let me explain. I don't want someone to misrepresent me. It's a pet peeve of mine. That's why I got on Gmail.
Trying to do. I want to misrepresent you.
No, I'm talking to the other person who's going to jump in because I think they might accidentally represent me if they're not trying to. So when I say my own value systems, it's things that I particularly like my interests, my hobbies, what I value in my life, like what are the things that I am aspiring to do and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but
if they don't align with like the objective standard, sure, I can admit that. Yeah, I guess they're not exactly morals. I won't say it's a morality, it's a subjective morality, but I will say that they are my own values.
It's not even separate from the objective. It doesn't even sound like a value system, though. It just sounds like your preferences. Like, I would like this to be true, even though you're acknowledging that it's not.
It is a value system to me. I said my own value system. Everybody has their own values.
I think that you guys are using value differently.
Yeah.
Because different people value different things. Like if you're a musician, you're going to value music a lot more than someone who isn't.
Exactly. You just highlighted it. People value things differently. So
you're talking differently.
Yeah, you're talking about like what you value in the sense of like what you treasure. What you want out of your life. While I'm using the sense of value in more of a moral sense. Like when I talk about my personal values, I mean my ethics or things that are important to me because of morals or the Bible or something like that.
Okay.
Just be that could it be that he just uses a different categorical, or like the Bible may be categorical about its value system where he's taking a hypothetical approach towards it?
What?
Part of the
I don't get what you mean.
Do you understand what I mean by categorical imperatives versus hypothetical?
Nope, you got to break it down because I'm a simple layman here.
So when I think of a hypothetical imperative, it's based on a situation. When I think of a categorical imperative, somebody might say killing or murder is always wrong. Whereas a hypothetical would say, given a certain circumstance, killing or murder could be okay. That's the difference.
Okay, then maybe
the question that I'm asking you is it sounds like you're still talking about a value system, but you're more hypothetical. I'm proposing this with your value system as opposed to the Bible being more categorical. You are never allowed to disrespect your parents.
Right.
Okay,
I'm doing more of a hypothetical, I guess.
It's still a value system. So I'm going to challenge whoever said that it wasn't. It's just
right. It is a value system. It just, I guess mine is more in that sense hypothetical. I know there are black and white things. I'm not going to be stupid like that, but I think there's a lot of gray areas for, what should be done, what shouldn't be done at certain times, depending on the situation.
I'm not sure hypothetical was the right word there. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
If you do actually hold, for example, that killing is always wrong, but there are times in which it's appropriate to do the wrong thing for a greater reason, then are you still considering killing always wrong in those situations?
That's a good point. You did bring a good objection. That's a good point. Good point.
I mean, that would be one of the reasons why you would never want people to have to go to war, because you would then always view the killing that occurred as wrong and to always be avoided, unless it's absolutely not possible to avoid it. You would never try to say it's a good thing, but you would always admit that the killing is wrong.
Would it still be hypothetical, even, like, let's say that there's still agreements, but he's taking disagreements as well? Like, there's still deviations, even if he does agree about certain aspects of it. Like, I would think that even if there's one disagreement, it would still be hypothetical.
And the reason that Ermine just brought up, that's one of the things that I can't say killing is bad. Of course, being in the service, that'd be kind of hypocritical for me to say that at any point. But I do think that just wanton killing without a purpose is bad. It would have to, and in that sense, I would guess I could say I was a consequentialist, because I do look at the consequences of who is killed and what impact did it have upon society.
Right.
But actually, we're getting kind of off topic here.
No, we do define murder that way. We do define murder as being an unjustified or unlawful killing, and that doesn't necessarily move us away from the idea that all killing should be viewed as bad and as a last resort. Which means that, yeah, okay, fine, you're going to need a body of soldiers who are capable of fighting and defending, but you're never going to view that as a justified thing to do. It's always something you want to avoid at all costs. It still needs to be done. It's like a justified evil.
And
like
and
eating.
so that what you just expressed, Carrie, is just the polar opposite to what your common soldier would say. Like, you always want to avoid that. No, your average everyday infantryman would say, if killing the problem is the fastest way to do it, then I'm putting a bullet through his head. And that's kind of one of the reasons I took an interest in philosophy, because you have a different set of moral values when you're in uniform and you're amongst people who have the capability to kill people and to quote unquote solve problems.
I can agree
as
with
opposed to a regular civilian.
I can agree with the soldier's view. The idea that once you've crossed the line in which force becomes necessary, even if you're viewing force as being bad in its regard of being used, you have to go all the way. There can't be middle ground with regards to the rules of engagement. It's like you just don't ever want to have to get there, because then you have to understand the totality of what you're invoking. It's kind of like the idea everybody needs to have a nuke or nobody has to have a nuke. You can't have middle ground. So at the second the situation degrades to the point where physical action is required, you need to have soldiers that are committed to going all the way. There can't be a reason to hold back, because you've already exhausted, hopefully, all the reasons why you were trying to avoid force in the first place. So holding back on your level of force becomes irrelevant.
Well, value systems, depends on who you are, your situation, stuff like that. So, makes sense that sometimes your value systems are not going to line up with the overarching, grandiose, whatever you want to call it, objective morality thing. Yeah, sure.
Now, if you talk to Christian soldiers, you'll get a weird mixture of an adherence to, what they feel is specialized life, put here by deity, and their propensity for violence and killing. And it's one of the most weirdest kind of combinations of contrasting views that I've ever seen in my life. To talk to an infantryman. Oh, go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
I think that can be kind of fueled by your natural desire, and then you look for ways to justify it. Like, you believe in God, so you kind of amp up your natural urges with your belief in God's existence. You know.
Okay, amp up.
Yeah. See, and
Yeah, like you.
I want to hear more about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I want to know how that works.
Okay, so it's like
I want you to describe it in detail.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can do that. And really, guys, like I just popped on here, so I'm just saying things. So
that's fine. That's fine. We're just talking.
So are we all?
You're not being recorded or anything. It's just fine.
Yeah, it's not like this is live. It's not like we have like 31 viewers watching now.
Well,
no, you're fine.
Well, yeah, I don't care about that anyway. But everyone's like, well, I want to hear more about that. Like, but it's really not a big deal. I'm just nonsense talking here. Okay, so you have this desire to kill people, right? And then you believe in God, so you tell yourself, well, maybe that's what God wants me to do. He's inspiring this mission, and then you. Does that make more sense?
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Was it Casey Anthony?
What's that?
Casey Anthony with their kids. God told her to kill their kids. Is what she thought.
It might have been Andrea Yates, is who you're thinking of.
Well, to be fair, God did tell Abraham to kill Isaac, but he was trolling.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't stop Jephthah.
I've never heard that explanation. I like that.
JK.
I'm trying to
put the knife down, Abraham. Stop it! Just put it. No.
I'm trying to
no, I didn't say it. Yes, you did. I was kidding. It was a joke.
I was joking. God damn it! I said JK. Sorry, me. Damn it.
Oh, I'm trying to recall the conversation I had because my.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ermi.
I'll just say to I'm just going to say it to Ozzy.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm trying to recall conversations. Oh, what's going on, Barney? What's up?
Hello. Richard, were you trying to justify kind of ends justifying the means sort of approach to problem of evil? Is that similar to kind of what you were doing, or am I off base?
Problem shouldn't even exist in the first place.
I mean, kind of. People have objected to it like that. Like, well, aren't you just using a consequentialist philosophy? And I've heard people get into that, but I'm not a philosopher, so I'm not too versed in that kind of thing. But I would want to say that it's more based on the value system. Like, but yeah, I do think there's a sense in which God knows the entire situation, not necessarily the consequences of what will happen, but he knows the situation better than we do, and he knows whether it is moral or immoral in that situation.
Right. It's like my problem with a lot of, and I think that answers to the problem of evil are termed theodicies. Is that correct? That a lot of them wind up with ends justifies the means sort of approach.
Yeah, and you're right, and I don't like that. I think the way that people phrase it often comes off like that, and I don't like it. So the way that I want to say it, and I'm not sure if you can do this without saying the ends justify the means, but the way I want to say it is that you have this circumstance in which something would be justified where it wouldn't be justified in other circumstances, and we don't know all of the details of that circumstance.
So
that doesn't have to.
I think that kicks the can backwards by saying that the ends justifies the means and the justification.
Right.
The Protestant Christian theology.
The ends justifies the justification.
It doesn't have to be a thing, though. Like none of it.
What do you mean?
Justification.
Well, it's a lot of the addressing to the problem of evil that I've heard basically is that if you have a perfect God and he's creating a universe in which is like if the universe creation is coming from a perfect entity, then there's no room for evil to get into it because God is perfect. He wouldn't make any mistakes that would allow evil to show up. So evil has to be sourced from him since he's the creator of all things. And I think the Bible even admits this in a couple of places, depending on how far you want to bite the bullet. Yeah, there's a verse in Isaiah. There's a couple of other things.
And in Protestant Christian theology, we know the ends. We know the end story.
And the ends is even very destructive, right?
Yeah.
It's
so yeah. I see a lot of appeal.
Unless it's supposed to be like a metaphor.
Like we don't know why God is making people suffer. Well, according to Protestant Christian theology, we know the end result. We know that his elect will be in heaven.
Well, we know,
and they got there not by their own warrant, by their own merit, by their own works, but by God's own grace. And then the reprobate will spend an eternity in hell. So I don't see how God making people suffer fits into that equation at all. If that's
let me finish the point. It's about like the perfect world coming from a perfect God. So if you have to explain what the purpose is for evil, because it has to be sourced from God. Whether He created Satan, and then Satan turned and everything. You can blame Satan, but God created Satan, and if God is omniscient, then He created Satan, knowing what he would do. So
he's
responsible.
It all boils down to the fact that
but
it doesn't have to be.
Let me
this
talk
way,
about this a little bit, and then
is.
I'll cede first. I'll cede after a second. I know that I'm kind of annoying because I might be dominating the conversation here, but I just want to get a point out quickly, and then I'll fuck off for a second. But so you have evil in the universe. The question is that usually the theodicies that I've seen is that evil generates different kinds of good. So it's difficult to have a universe in which you have mercy without evil, for example. But the addressing to that is that do you need mercy? You can have infinite good in a universe which has zero evil. But if you have evil, you still have infinite good. You just have different kinds of good. It's like I have infinite bananas, so I have infinite food. Do I really need apples in order to say that I have infinite food? Is infinite apples and bananas more food than infinite bananas?
Well, no, it's not. It's not more food, but it's like a better state of affairs. So if
but in both cases, it's infinitely good.
Wait. No. Infinite bananas is not infinitely good.
No, what I'm talking about is if the bananas are a symbol for good, for a kind of good.
Right. Yeah.
Do you need different kinds of good in order for it to be a better state of affairs? If in order to do that, you have to introduce evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the way that I usually frame this is like this. God wants to give his people the maximum, or rather all of the possible goods that are available. And the only way to do that is to have a two-world system, the imperfect and the perfect world. So in the imperfect world, you have some goods, and in the perfect world, you get the rest of them. So I don't know. I would think it would be better to get all of the goods than only some of them.
But then, if you get access to all the goods, you have to contend with evil. But how does and then you have the problem of perfect God creating evil and being responsible for evil, so that you can have more good. At which point you have an ends justifying the means scenario of God introducing suffering so that you can have mercy around.
But that's how Judaism works. I don't understand why that one's a struggle.
Judaism has a limited God.
Well, I guess it depends on who you talk to.
The question, though, is, does God's creation have a right to be mad at him? Limited or all the omnis? I don't understand why.
Right.
Right. That goes. I mean, that gets away from the problem of evil.
The topic,
which is where the conversation wound up with problem of evil. It goes back to the topic. The problem of evil was a sidetrack, but I think it has to do with the topic of why we're in a situation in which we feel like we should be mad in the first place.
You're right. No, you're right. Definitely.
To the problem of evil. I mean, that's what you kind of concluded. I don't have a problem with evil. With the problem with evil, if you take the Judaism approach towards it, so that's why I'm kind of struggling in this conversation. But I'll keep listening.
What's the Judaism solution for it? Like or avoidance of it? Because I'll say, as a polytheist, I have an avoidance for problem of evil. It doesn't apply.
Maybe I'm struggling because God created both.
Right. The claim is that God is all good, and so we're wondering why good would be.
And I'm saying, why is that the claim?
Right. That's where you get into it. If you sacrifice omnibenevolence, sure, problem of evil winds up not being as much of a problem.
Right.
Okay. Even assuming.
I'm sorry. which still go back to the original question, and that's why I'm just trying to really clarify with people where people are coming from is have a right to be mad at him. I mean, I still want to go back to that, and we went down the problem of evil, and I'm like, you know, I'm struggling because we know that exists if you take one perspective of God.
Right. So we're getting into whether or not God is omnibenevolent. So that people, a lot of times Christians will claim that God is omnibenevolent because otherwise he's not worthy of being worshipped. So we'd have to get a Christian in here that holds that position. There's a lot of them that do. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they like to avoid these kind of things, though, don't they?
Well, no.
There's the Muslim perspective that it more syncs up with the Judaism, which doesn't hold that. And so you're right, maybe I can't answer this, but if we're going to the question of what this whole... sorry, cut me off.
We're going to talk about all possible... Conversation quickly becomes meaningless.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. If you keep conflating it between two different gods, then... I mean, I know
There's a lot of things that we conflate here. We're conflating with rights, we're conflating with anger, and we're conflating with God.
Right, and that's why I'm just trying to get some definitions and things locked down, and it's still
okay.
The question I asked.
Okay, well, God. Okay, I can
oh
see
my gosh! With all due respect, can I finish? If you don't want me to, it's fine.
Sure, but I'm the moderator. Go ahead.
I'll let you moderate.
Oh.
If you don't want me to, it's fine.
Oh man.
I said go ahead.
That was awkward.
Oh well, it's getting annoying anyhow. Because you want to have definitions for everything. It's like, come on, just a cool.
So, real quick.
Wait, did you just boot Ermaine?
No, I didn't. She left herself.
She hung up on us.
Yeah.
Right. I sent her down to the fiery pits of hell.
Oh no. Okay, so we'll use the God that's both good and evil. Don't we still we're still met with the problem of evil?
Right.
Like it doesn't get away from the shit that we've had to put up with.
I think if you have a God that's both good and evil, then you could say, yes, I'm justified in being angry with him because he's evil, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but can you be justified at being mad at somebody who's good? Can you have an unjustified anger towards somebody who's evil?
Well, you can be mad at it. You can be mad at him. You can be mad at him when he does bad things to you, and you can be happy with him when he does good things to you, just like you would any other.
Yeah, this guy's got it. Yeah, like that.
God helps you out. Hey, thank you, God. I appreciate it. God sends a flood to wipe out your family. I'm pissed, God. Why the hell you do that?
Yeah, but that's your reaction. The question is, are you justified in doing that? If we assume omnibenevolence,
the criteria for justification is whether or not he's taking care of you, he has compassion for you or not.
And that's where Hermione's question of from what standpoint are you looking is very well valid and should have been answered. But the thing is, if we assume omnibenevolence as a criterion for a Christian God, that's why I have all those. If we assume that the God exists, then he is omnibenevolent. There is a problem of evil. Okay, so you're saying he's doing evil stuff. The only setup I can make is there can be no good without evil. Like if he's capable of creating a perfect world with no evil, no choice, no challenge, no nothing, that would imply no virtue, no value, no. It would be in
what way?
So if we took
the question is he creating evil? The evil could exist, but is he the source of it? Is he creating it?
He is. In that case, he is a source of.
Is he willing it? If he's willing it, then why is not that justification to be mad at this God for willing evil against you?
Right.
Because
if God says, "I want you to starve, I want you to suffer, I want you to have cancer, I want your kids to die,"
right?
Why isn't that justification?
So my argument is that if it is impossible to have good without the contrast of evil, then evil must exist.
and it's basically the lottery at that point.
But,
See, now
are we
that's the
talking
thing. I
about
don't think. I
sovereign
don't
God
think.
or not? Are we talking about God that actually wills evil upon people?
I don't think it should have to exist. It just kind of does.
You know, is it,
Are you sure?
I mean,
Yeah, because I can easily imagine a world where there isn't
without
any
without
number.
evil, without
You know,
evil,
numbers can exist independently of God's thoughts, although some Christians would argue against that. But you could say, you know, yeah, evil exists platonically, just like good or numbers or the laws of logic or
Okay, well, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to necessarily exist in this world. Sure, some people think it's hard to imagine or whatever, but not. It doesn't have to. It just kind of is. And if you can imagine, if you can't imagine a world where there's some way where it can't work, where he feels it can't work unless evil's there, then it doesn't seem
that it has no value, or
so. Then he can't really do anything. He's not all powerful. He has limits. So, and again, if you want to do that, I mean that's fine. Just know what you're making your God limited. That's not how my mom views God.
That's not how my
you see that's why I don't believe in God, because
I love how you're using your
there's
mom.
no way out with him.
I love how you're using your mom as an authority. That's not what my mom believes.
Well, I'm not using her as authority. I'm just saying because I had a conversation with her last night kind of about this kind of thing. So she's more on the side that, yeah, it's God's world, God's rules. So even if she doesn't say it this way, it's like she's basically admitting that God's a jerk. So
my house, my rules. Get your own damn universe.
yeah, pretty much. Except I can't make my own universe. At least not.
Actually say, fuck, what is it? It's something along the lines of get your own dirt. I can't remember the context. Fuck.
Get your own dirt? That sounds like a reference to Genesis.
Humans trying to stand up for themselves or some shit like that and being
right.
Like, be independent. Yeah, he's like, well, fine, go get your own dirt. Go create your own universe.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Mentality. It's really
yeah.
Like, he's basically a cosmic abuser in their minds, and it's really weird stepping out of it. Like when I deconverted, it's weird seeing the picture that actually lived.
Oh yeah, I see that. See, like, problem is, I don't think that. Again, there's only 3 different ways you can argue this kind of thing. You could either argue, again, it all boils down to, so God is not all powerful, or God is not all knowing, or he is all powerful, he is all knowing, he just chooses to make it this way because screw you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but that's the only 3
that's
things
the only
that
way
you have.
He can't have all 3 qualities at
No.
the same time.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier if you get rid of the omnibenevolence. If you cross that off the list of attributes of God, I think it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, that's just ad hoc though. Hey, Trill, I have a question for you.
RS says in the live chat, or God doesn't exist.
Yeah, Trill, I have a question for you. How difficult was it to get people in here with the new setup that we have, like the master list? Could you get them in quickly?
It was a little tricky, I'll admit.
Yeah. So what I was thinking of doing is just posting in the GDC, like, hey, we're having a debate, check the master list, you know?
Okay, that's a good one, okay.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to try that.
Oh, another theist. Now they all come in when I've already had a 2 hour.
What did you do, Trill? How did you get them in? Did you just message people?
I messaged some people. I linked to some, and others I just kind of... I don't know, I mean, I posted a link there.
I went and messaged people to join.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, hey, Floyd, a while ago I tried to get you to come into a debate, but I couldn't get a hold of you. I tried to message you on Google Plus and Facebook, but you're incommunicado. Couldn't do it.
You should have checked the masters list.
When was it? I'm usually around at nights.
Oh, yeah, it was a few weeks ago, so I don't know. If you check your friend requests on Facebook, you'll probably see me.
Richard, you're having a...
What?
Oh, I thought somebody was talking. Are you having a debate on inerrancy later?
Not tonight, because I'm doing real world TM things. So I'm actually, so I was going to, but then I just decided to just pop in here and just talk in here for a while. But I might do it tomorrow. Tomorrow might be good. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard, you promised Ocho and me that you will moderate us.
Yeah. Okay, but I am going to get off here, so I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll try to have the debate tomorrow. If I do it, I'll send out the link and just try to be aware of it, just so you know to check the master list. So I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Trill, this is the 2-hour mark.
Right. Thanks for letting me know. Oh yeah, right, because Barney has to do his thing. Right, we can't let it go for too much longer, because he might leave, and we need him to do.
I'm not going to leave. I was supposed to have a fight with Ochoa about God from First Principles or something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God from First Principles.
Ah. Okay. So, I was just gonna say, because if we do want to wrap this up, does Ouchie have anything he wants to add to the conversation?
I missed most of it, so that's okay.
Is it okay to be angry at God?
I guess.
Well, what do you mean?
It seems like the general theme of the whole thing has been, depending on the context and the traits of God, it can be justified to be angry. Like, it would be for good reason. Although we didn't actually get into good, like, if we're willing to allow that it's justified or it's reasonable or whatever, it's okay to be angry at God. We didn't actually get into the reasons why, even though we all know them, but that would have been an interesting discussion.
Whoopsies.
I do have something to say on this.
I could have said something. Go ahead, though.
I think that it's okay if it's just out of, obviously it's okay if it's out of our control, not part of, not ourselves willing some kind of bad thing towards God or something, which wouldn't even really make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But yeah, if we're just willing something bad for God or resentful towards God, I think that's a mistake. Because ultimately God's going to be willing our own good as an end. So
right.
Assuming we're talking about a good God, yeah.
Well, I mean, in the Christian worldview, he is good.
I mean, it also depends on where's it going for you, because really, are you going to tell, if we're going with the structure where hell is an actual place, it's the lake of fire, not hell, consciously tortured for eternity, you're going to argue that that's for the best for them? That's what's good for them?
Right.
I would not say he's willing the best for those people.
Well, yeah, but that's not what God's ultimately willing for them. That's simply out of their own mistakes, right?
But he willed those mistakes. If he's omnipotent and omniscient, he literally programmed them before he even started creating the universe. If we're going with the traditional Christian God, yeah.
Well, that's only Calvinism, right?
No, that's written in the Bible. He says that he decided what was going to happen before he set the foundations of the world. Yes, that is. Oh, okay, sorry, I misheard you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Most Christians think that people have free will. So that would not work for most Christians. It would work for Calvinists, but...
We get to the free will argument, and from there I would say I can't tell myself to produce law without nothing.
Right. Well...
At which point they're... I mean, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, the way I see it is that, again, we only had a few different people coming here to actually try and we're on the theist side about this. But again, so there's only really 3 different ways you can look at this. Either God's not all-powerful, he's not all-knowing, or he is all-powerful and he is all-knowing, but he's just choosing to do things this way. And it sucks doing things this way. But, yeah. So, and again, I mean, somebody might be able to come up with something better, but again, it all kind of boils down to those 3 different things.
I think it's also because we don't have too many theists popping in to actually defend too, so it's...
Well, yeah, I know that. I mean, well, they are out there. They just don't want to...
Well, we've had a few popping in. Say something.
Yeah, we had one, but...
if you look at...
But then you still have to have them nail down what God they're talking about. And that's...
Christian God.
That's the 100... No, there's no such thing as one Christian God. Come on.
so many. Like we just.
Yeah, there is. Well, I mean, there's more than one concept of him, but there is only one.
Which means every different denomination is going to have a different argument.
And there are actually versions of Christianity with more than one god. So yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's General Han Solo. There's one.
Well, no, I mean,
there's several others.
Can we only worship one of them though? It's not polytheistic Christianity. It's monolatry.
No, he defines himself as a monotrist. Monolatrist.
Right, monolatry.
Someone who worships one god but believes in many.
Yeah.
I've described him as a henotheist before, which is essentially the same thing, but it's a little bit more broad.
Okay, so you probably know about some of the earlier stuff where angels and demons could be seen as lesser gods in certain pantheons.
Yeah, that's a weird way of looking.
I mean, I'm a polytheist, so I'm pretty familiar with that argument. Where a lot of them will say that my gods are demons or are angels, depending on what the claim is around them.
Okay, so yours would be an interesting one to bring into this conversation. Okay, what kind of polytheism are we talking about first?
I'm pretty all-inclusive, but my particular tradition is Norse and Celtic.
Oh,
cool.
Okay. I'm meeting a lot of you guys lately.
Cool.
Norse polytheists are pretty much on the rise. There's a local group that I'm a part of. We started out with like 20 of us. Now there's about 200 of us.
Jeez.
Cool.
Why are they on the rise? I've noticed it. Like I know two. I met one just yesterday, and then one of them's my uncle. And it's just weird to see it. I've seen the transition with more than a few people where it goes Christianity, deconversion, Norse pantheon.
Interesting.
I was a Christian for a while, but I deconverted from Christianity, or left Christianity, I guess, around somewhere between, I think, 20 and 21, and then became pagan shortly after that, and eventually, like, as I read more into it, I'm now a Norse Celtic recon.
I might, I'd like to have an extended discussion on this sometime, because I'm trying to figure...
Adam on Google Plus. Adam on Google Plus. Go to follow him. All that's good stuff.
Get some Jedis in here as well.
I'm pretty easy to contact on Discord.
Oh, you have Discord? Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I can write it down, or you can just shoot me in Discord.
There you go.
Hold on, let me see. Can I see it? Oh no, what did I do?
I posted my Discord name in the side chat.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
I don't know if I can see it actually, because I'm on my phone.
I'd like to try.
Were you trying to say that there's a way to relate my religion to the topic, or?
Oh yeah, that would be really interesting if there is a way.
I'm not sure that there is, because the way I would see it is that I see it as humans are perfectly within their rights to disagree with the gods. So
okay.
There's not really any problem there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just to here's the thing, because some people ask why I consider myself my position, and I didn't get a chance to really say it when there's too many theists in the room, but I'll just kind of throw it out there, because I particularly don't identify as Christian, because I don't really agree with God's morality, and I'm not okay with beings getting punished severely or eternally for their mishaps and some sort of hideous afterlife. So
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of basic. I mean, some of my values in that, they just simply don't line up and stuff.
Yeah, hell's always, even when I believed, hell's always been a big problem. I didn't get angry, I'd just get really sad. Really sad.
Well, I mean, it also gets to a point too where your own values, what you're trying to do in your life, and that they don't align.
I mean, let's back up what I'm saying.
Simply.
If do you guys mind if I try to? Because it's.
Go ahead.
All right. So she says humans are justified to disagree with the gods. Back that up, please. How are you using rights? The way that I see it, there's no. What I would need is some justification that humans need to agree with all the gods when all the gods disagree with one another. So I don't see any any way that you could say that humans have to agree with all of them. So furthermore, I don't know how you would make it if you believe that there are multiple gods with differing opinions. How would you justify trying to say that humans have to agree with one or more on any topic?
I think it would come down to a might makes right or an appeal.
Right, exactly. That's what always comes down. That's why I opened up with
but even might makes right. It's just like if you get into a fight with somebody and he beats you up, does that mean you have to agree with him or you can't be mad at him?
Right.
Like
here's the thing. That's why I use my alien race analogy, right? As a science fiction person, that's one of the reasons I use my alien race analogy in the first place. I think it relates perfectly to what we're going here. Because if an alien race, comes down, proved, to be our creators, and then determined that we were like their slaves, that's what we were built for, that was our purpose, despite the fact we've been doing our own thing for how many years. Like, would you go along with the plan? Would you deep down agree with them, or would you just kind of be going along out of fear?
I don't think.
What?
The way that polytheism, that my tradition of polytheism is structured, humans weren't created to be the slaves of the gods. So it's just
right.
If you did agree that humanity was created by a god to be their slaves or to be or whatever it was. Let's just assume it's the case for a second, that we were created to be the slave of God X. Unless we don't have free will to go against that, there's other gods that would disagree with that god that may or may not be more powerful. That I don't know why we would need to agree with that god. Unless
right. See, that's the thing.
Unless it's implicit somehow in our creation.
Right.
The might makes right thing is because that god can whoop the shit out of every other single god, and all the gods disagree with him.
Right.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you have to agree with him either. I want an argument for why you have to agree with the god that created you to be their slaves. Like I mean, we're talking to a bunch of people that don't think that. Floyd, can you think of something that might be in this line? I'm having a hard time.
What do you mean you don't? The thing is that you could go against it, but you really don't have too much of a choice in it. If we're talking about the Christian God, which I am, then you do.
You have the choice of choosing how you live and die. You can die either as his plaything and true to yourself, or you can live as a coward who's not living the way he's honestly feeling.
Yeah, I mean, are you gonna be a kiss ass just because it's going to benefit you? It's like it's like being on Trump's cabinet. You better kiss Trump's butt,
Steve's gonna get mad,
or he's gonna kick you out. And if you do kiss his butt, you will be rewarded. So, I think the same thing with the Christian God. If you behave, if you do what you're told, then he'll take care of you. But if you go against him, you better watch out, or he'll literally make you,
that is it.
Make you
in a nutshell.
Eat your children, which he threatens.
The mafia boss God. That's a wonderful soul you got there. It'd be horrible if something ever happened to it.
Oh man! See, this is exactly one of my
Ermine
problems.
Brought up the categorical imperative in the Bible. Yeah, there is one. I agree with her where it's the Bible's consistent, where it says you always should love and honor God. That is consistent throughout the Bible, and and it's just saying because how can you fight against him? You better he's the dictator. If you go against him, he's going to make your life a living hell, literally, right? So
does that make you more justified in hating him or not?
Yeah, well, it's like
to submit or not.
I remember that general.
Well, no, the question is whether it's pragmatic to agree with him. It's like whether or not you're justified in hating him.
Yeah,
so.
I forget the general's name who's on Trump's cabinet, where Trump, Trump was supporting the racism at Charlottesville. The way the general was looking down, he was saying,
"Oh, that's John Kelly."
Yeah, John Kelly. Yeah, John Kelly obviously, just looking at as body language, we can't tell what he's really thinking.
Oh, we got more theists in here! Yay!
But
welcome to the show.
Saying, "Oh my God, I don't agree with this guy at all," but I work for this guy. I just clam up, shut up, and just go along with it. or resign. I either resign or I just put up with it, and the guy's just going to keep his mouth shut. And if press asks him what do you think about what Trump said, no comment, and get the hell out of there.
Except it's worse with the God because he can read your mind, so he knows when you're going, he's full of shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really hide it. That's the problem. People say like, for instance, like I think what is his face? Trust in Jesus or Carlos around here has told me many times like to repent and stuff. It's like it's not that easy. I can't just pretend to be a Christian now. Just like I can avoid hell. He knows I'd just be doing it out of fear.
Yeah, and that's no very good point. You can't lie to God, right? You can read your mind.
Exactly. So it's like you think this is a stupid position to have. Like I can't choose otherwise. Hello, the God that can know everything in my thoughts.
And what you're really thinking is, don't send me to hell, God. Don't send me to hell, God. Don't send me to hell, God.
Pretty much.
Oh yes, I love you, God. No, I'm really saying, don't send me to hell, God.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't force myself here to become a Christian. So like the only way you'd be able to convince me, sometimes able to convince me that somehow that no, God is good despite all the stuff where I'm mistaken about things, which I can be open to, or someone's gonna have to brainwash me to think more like some of these Christians here. No offense.
Yeah. Can you truly love something, a person that you fear?
Exactly. Because otherwise, I'm just doing things out of fear.
I think up to a certain level, maybe, but like that. You also have to keep in mind that you're directly across the way, like while you're worshiping him, you're directly across the way from people who are being tortured, and that's a whole different level of fear.
I feel like I am in an atheist circle jerk right now.
If your religion requires fear, coercion of any kind, you're kind of out of the moral loophole.
Oh my gosh! Well, the way I see it, I could see how you could fear somebody and still love somebody at the same time. I'm afraid to come against my real dad, my earthly father. I'm afraid of him to go against his wishes, whatever, because I know we'll get into a fight, right? But I still love him.
You're displeasing him, or what kind of fear are you talking about there? Because that's just like, please, I don't want to disappoint my dad. Because that's not the fear we're talking about here.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a condition?
Father, so
have you heard of a condition? It's like it's this kind of a not so well known one. It's like, I don't know. Have you heard of something called Stockholm syndrome? Because that's kind of what this is.
But I think that's a terrible analogy when you're talking about Christianity.
I don't think
maybe
so.
Islam is a much better analogy for that.
Okay, explain how it's a terrible analogy for Christianity, because I think it's pretty accurate to why I'm a misogynist.
Well, in the sense of the Christian doctrine, people hate God. In a sense where it says, and I think it's Hebrews, we love God because God first loved us.
Yeah, but that's Hebrews, which might not be canon, first off. But second off, in Proverbs, like near the very beginning of the Bible, it says, "Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." And then it if you trace the phrase "fear of the Lord," you can see it go from that to loving and fearing God. You can see it evolve over time throughout the text. It starts with scaring the shit out of people. It starts with locking them into that abusive relationship. And then it tells you he's a good person. He's a good person.
Like how many pastors have you seen go out there and they want to, I don't say it's necessarily the right thing to do, even if I were to come at it from a Christian perspective, but anyways, how many pastors you see out there, preaching, hellfire and brimstone, and then they convert a bunch of people out of fear, and then after the fear, then they start to build up the whole lovable
That's abuse relationships 101. That's how you abuse somebody.
So it's not okay. A lot of people look down on this kind of thing when it comes to humans. How about somehow, God gets a pass because he made the universe and stuff?
Ermine has gotten put a good question in the chat. Hold on a second, Wayne. I'm sorry. Ermine's put out a good question saying, how does Christianity scare the shit out of people from Scripture? Like, is there for what you're saying?
The lake of fire. Revelation. Deuteronomy, Lamentations, Ezekiel.
What in Ezekiel?
But Jesus said, "But those enemies of mine who do not want to be me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me." And then Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Luke 19:27-28.
Revelation talks about eating the flesh of captains and kings.
See,
and Deuteronomy threatens, like, this is straight up, this is God himself threatening the Israelites, saying, if you follow me, I'll treat you well. If you don't, I'll make you eat your babies, and you will hide them. The mothers, the dainty, delicate mothers. He goes into description about how delicate they are. The delicate women will eat their children and hide the bodies. And then he fulfills that promise in Lamentations, and I think it's Ezekiel. It's one other book.
Yeah, so the way that I would look at that is that's more of a consequence of people's actions. So if you don't, you know, say that you don't work and you decide just never to get a job, you're going to end up in the streets dying, and I could describe it in all sorts of terrible ways, right? But that doesn't mean that
he directly ties it to his responsibility. He says he will do this himself. It's not like this is going to be a consequence of your actions. It's, if you do this, I'll give you presents. If you don't do this, I'm locking you in the basement.
Right. It's not like you could just say, hey, if you do this, here's your prize, and if you do this, there's nothing. No.
It's I'm going to do this shit to you if you don't do what I say.
What are the consequences with it relative to who you're disrespecting or who you're committing a crime against? Like, for example, if you go and you hit like some random guy in the street, you'll probably get a fine or something like that, right? But say you try and kill Trump, you're going to prison.
Yeah. Are we going to do the infinite sin against Earth?
Oh, no, we're not going to do that again, are we? We've already done that last time. We did the whole hell conversation.
That's the whole problem of he pre-constructed all of this. So it's like somebody setting you up in a trap. Right. It's getting set up in a trap before you even exist, before your great.
This is the thing. You say, like, okay, this is the rules and all that, but who made the flipping rules? God did. He didn't have to make the world in that this way.
Path in the maze you're going to go through. That's part of being omniscient.
So hold on a second.
It seems like you guys are just being very petty and just like, oh my gosh, I don't like this guy. He's a big poopy head. Like,
yeah, because not like here's the thing. I'm a misotheist, so duh. I don't
see there's been a lot of atheists making points.
How is
a lot of atheists making points, and now Chihuahua would like to.
Hang on, guys, don't talk over each other. I'm the moderator here.
And, yeah, I'm making an appeal to the moderator. There's been a lot of atheists talking. Now Chihuahua.
Okay, Ouchie, can you please? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say that it's not like God can set up the rules however he wants, because it's based on human nature.
But he created human nature. Every single
So he could change what we are, but then we wouldn't exist.
He made us this way on purpose. He made us to fail. He designed us to fail.
He didn't design us to fail. That's a mistake.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You know how many times I've heard Christians say that, we need a savior because we couldn't do it on our own?
He knew everything before time existed. He knew exactly what was going to go on in the garden.
Yes, I agree.
If I move the tree 2 feet over here, they might not go there. If I make the fruit ugly as shit and smell bad, they're probably not going to go over there. If I make it look like it's not good for wisdom, they aren't going to go over there. Instead, I'm going to set it up exactly how it is. Like every single part of the event is scripted, and he tells you after he has set you up, I love you, baby. Come to me, and I will have to hurt you. That's where that's why he compares it to Socrates.
It's an abusive relationship.
Yeah, it does not seem like it's a healthy.
I think you guys are exaggerating.
That's the whole point of the argument from benevolence and from free will, and the thing that I was saying, where evil is required to have good.
Right. See, the only way you'd have a leg to stand on here is if you're Calvinist, pretty much.
Yeah,
but you don't. I don't think you guys are.
Dump the omnibenevolence. If you dump that,
here I will create the conditions.
God makes more sense. But
right. Like if he can't do anything.
I think that in order for to have God make more sense, you need to dump all the omnis, because there's a problem with all of them.
Yeah. You can go there too, but I think the goodness is a big problem because of the problem of evil, especially the evidential problem of suffering. I think that's a big problem. So you just dump that after you get rid of the God's all good, God's loving. Just dump that. Just say God's just a creator who does that wherever the hell he wants. Then whatever happens, whether there's tornadoes, hurricanes, floodings, you name it, that's what God wanted. And it doesn't matter if you don't like it or if it's good or evil. God can do whatever the hell he wants. And why does he do it? According to John Calvin, because it pleases him.
Right.
All
And to be honest, I'm really
very
sick.
impersonal, very cold.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Is he worthy of being worshipped at that point?
Right. Yeah. See, I'm really sick and tired of I'm really like here's the thing. I'm really sick and tired of people not addressing this elephant in the room here because people think, oh, my position is stupid and stuff. Well, it's like I'm addressing the elephant in the room here that no one wants to seem to address. You can talk about biblical inerrancy and that all day. You can talk about evolution all day. This is not getting out to the core issues about why people in their hearts never don't want to worship a God like this.
The elephant in the room is chaos conf, and no one's brought that up.
Chaos
what?
Chaos conf. That's the elephant in the room. That's what should be discussed in this topic.
Chaos counts.
Clarify.
Yeah.
Chaos conf. It's struggle against chaos.
But if he's omnipotent, it's not a real struggle. If he's actually all powerful, he can change everything.
Right.
Any energy.
No. It's in regards to the attributes that Christians presuppose that he's all powerful and so on. Ironically, necessitate what we understand to be chaos conf.
Yeah, everybody's typing that now.
It's a given.
Oh, I'm typing.
It's a given that would exist if such a God exists.
Maybe give a description instead of the jargon. Just
speed. Maybe break it down as if I was like 10 years old or something.
The thing you're
it derives. I mean, Leibniz would be one example where he, the best of all possible worlds, where he basically makes the argument that this is not the best possible world per se. Like, it's not a perfect world, but it is the quote-unquote best of all possible worlds as far as the necessity for evil to exist in order to distinguish and defeat evil and defeat chaos.
Is chaos a
So it's maximally good for both good and evil.
Is chaos pre-existing the creation of the universe?
No, it's simultaneous with the creation of the universe.
If you accept creation ex nihilo or ex nihilo, but if you were creatio ex materia, then yes, it did exist.
Well, what I was thinking was actually evil existing alongside God pre-creation.
I mean, that's what Genesis 1 is about. The Teom, the deep. That's pre-existent waters, and God just took that chaos and turned it into order.
So
you have
not pre-existent, but floats here.
I think doesn't that get into an issue with omnipresence? If you have in the primordial something else being a contender with God, like there's the legend of the Leviathan too, I guess, but I don't what's the. I don't know. There's a lot of strange things about the logic of God and then the mythology of Christianity, and trying to make them.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's when you get into classical theism. Classical theism has a lot of logical claims about God, and then when you get into Christianity, there's a lot of mythological claims about God, and then there's observations of his actions and such. Trying to marry those two can be incredibly difficult. And then there's on top of that, there's just reality. The plights that we deal with in everyday life.
I'll admit the chaos thing.
Problem of suffering, which is.
I'll admit the chaos
brings
thing
problems into both of those. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The chaos thing had me going for a little bit, but I don't really see again it should be a thing.
You can't be a classical monotheist and have chaos coexist with God at the beginning of creation.
Especially with omnipotence, actual can do whatever you want.
Yeah. This is why you kind of have to get rid of the omnis, or if you're just going to say he has all the omnis, it again just makes your God look like a jerk. I'm sorry. Like I said, there's only 3 ways you can argue this. I keep repeating myself. Yeah. Either God's not all powerful, either God's not all knowing, or he is all powerful, all knowing, but he decides to do it this way anyhow because screw you.
You either have to be.
Well, no, but at least, but you also have to remember
qualify one of the omnis. That's the only solution.
Yeah. But you guys also have to remember
Hang on, let Wayne talk.
A lot of people
Let Wayne
against
talk.
gods have talked, so let's talk with
Let Wayne talk.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, you guys also have to remember that even Carl Sagan was a big advocate about people being selfish and thinking the whole story is all about me. So like whether like I go through suffering or you go through suffering or some little child in Africa go through something painful and terrible, God is using all of the suffering and evil for a bigger cause, bigger than you or I.
Yeah, that's great and all, except I don't want the kid over in Africa to be starving to death either. And frankly, I'm not seeing the picture. And you can make that argument, but
one would say that all ontology starts with self-ontology.
Who says that God is an individualist? Who says that individual suffering or individual is at all significant to overall good?
Yeah, so what that's saying is God's putting some other need above the needs of individuals.
Well, I would say
where we all have needs. We're all breathing right now. We need to breathe. We need food. We need shelter. We need clothes. Right. That's what we need. And if God's,
the only problem is that he has
saying, I'm not going to
unnecessary.
give you that because I have some other plan, and he's not concerned about your most basic needs.
Yeah. Well, in that case, then there's very little reason.
Go ahead.
In that case, there's very little reason to even form a religion around a God like that. He doesn't seem too personal, as far as how I was raised.
I have something more important than you breathing.
Yeah, but we were talking.
What could be more important?
Real quick, with Christianity, we're talking about mankind in Christianity, which is like the peak, the absolute peak of his creation. It's his best act in Christianity. It doesn't really work with that part of Christianity. There's,
like if there's other things out there that is so far.
You're cutting in and out so much.
Yeah. Sorry, Sophia. You keep cutting in and out.
It could possibly work without hell.
Right.
Where you could suffer, but then after it's all done and gone, you have served your purpose and you will get the reward of heaven.
Or you could not have, you don't even have to have an afterlife at all, because if we're talking about just the physical world itself, why don't things just have the physical consequences? Like, why when you just die, why can't you just die? I remember even as a Christian, it's like, I even said, well, I don't want heaven. I don't need heaven. I can just do my best whatever to serve God if I want to, then just die in the end.
If you're not going to be there, then I'm going to definitely miss you.
There's no point. Like, I'd rather everything just ends. Like,
I would love to wrap my hands around you and I don't know, go and have
if everything just
this isn't the time for that.
Indeed, your existence and your purpose on this planet, it would have been meaningless anyway. So you might as well just not ever had been born.
Pretty much, but I am here, and I'm not just going to kill myself because there is an afterlife. Kind of sucks how that is, isn't it?
Oh, I remember that.
Something to note about Christianity is that it does say that those who are last will be first, and so that's the whole idea. Is that in heaven there would be rewards for those who had a lesser hand in life.
Unless they were an unbeliever, in which case they're still going to fucking hell.
Not necessarily, actually. If you're an unbeliever out of invincible ignorance, you can't be culpable for that.
Yeah, but if you're an unbeliever who's like me, I'll give you me as an example. If you're like me and you actually went through the Greek, and because of how much you know about it, you deconverted.
Well, no, you would still be ignorant. You're just not. You're just not capable of understanding the arguments for Christianity, or something along those lines.
Or you can trace.
I wouldn't put it that way. I wouldn't say he's not capable of it. I mean, there's a gradient of how much knowledge we each possess,
right.
And so far the evidence has convinced me to accept the model of Christianity to explain reality. But Sophia could be on a different plane.
Right. Yeah. The only way you would be punished for it is if you're purposely trying to not have knowledge of God. That's the only way you could be punished for it, because that would be out of your own will.
But you would have to know that God exists for absolute certainty.
Well, again, that's the only thing.
And at that point, you don't need scripture because you know God.
No, you know. No. You know the mind of God.
Would somebody be able to give a
No, but
link out to?
I'm saying until you know God, you don't you have a book. That's what you have.
You can have, say, 1% understanding of relativity, and you can have, say, 99% understanding of relativity. The point is, if you at least have 1% understanding of a model, then according to what Ochiwawa is trying to say, is that's sufficient. It's the whole notion of a grain is mustard seed.
The thing that's not the smallest seed, but we have an apologetic for that one too.
Again, that's a complete misunderstanding of that small seed thing.
How much of the universe do you understand? Like 2%, something like that.
I think anybody who puts a percent, if you put a percent on that, you're full of shit. That's just what I think.
Why?
No, really, honestly, we only understand about like 2% of the universe.
Well, there's measurable calculations for how much we can actually just interact with. And
that's true.
That's only 5%. The rest of it is not something we can interact
That's why we have this thing called the visible universe and the invisible, like the universe that could be a lot larger than what we currently can see.
Right, but
so
what
we
I'm
already
saying
know
is,
that we live within a certain nested universe, and that outside that universe, there's something we will never be able to interact with.
Right.
But with our limited knowledge, look at how much we understand and look at what we can accomplish. And so it's the same thing with Christianity. With our limited understanding of what we do have, look at what we can accomplish and what we can understand about God.
What's special about Christianity that wasn't there first?
Well, it doesn't have to be first. It just matters if it's true.
Well, okay, except that now you're giving credit for people who've lived by a different philosophy for thousands of years before Christ ever came along.
You could say the same thing about general relativity. It didn't always exist, but it's true. None of that matters. What matters is, does it comport with the reality we live in?
And I'd say no.
Well, that's a bad opinion.
I mean, what Kerry's saying would be an interesting exercise, because it's, I mean, the crux would then be, here you have these philosophers, say 500 years before Jesus. When Jesus came on the scene.
2000. Keep going.
No, I know. We can even go further back. We can go back to Job if we wanted to.
We can go way before that with other things, though. We can go back 12,000 years. Like, you want to do that number slugging contest,
but the model,
it loses.
The model of Christianity, this is what it is. The model of Christianity is, what did Jesus say and do that would then obviously make him completely unique in all of history?
Nothing.
No, but that's the question. And you're saying nothing.
Yeah.
But the Christian says...
No, actually, I'm saying Jesus
said
nothing. I'm saying that Jesus himself said that when he was queried about the law, stated that everything about the law could be reduced to two principles: submission to God and the golden rule. And that was his way of framing the entire question.
Yeah,
and
how did
everything that you look at in the Bible,
respond? Yeah, but how did the scribe respond in return? And then how did Jesus respond in return?
I'm sorry? Not the scribe, the lawyer. Are we talking about the same thing?
I'm referring to Matthew 22 or Mark 12.
Can you speak in specifics, please?
So
otherwise, you're just talking amongst yourself.
The question was asked, "What's the greatest command?" Right? Is that the passage you're thinking about?
Yeah, he was a lawyer, knowledgeable in the law, as they say, and he wanted to know out of the 613 commandments in the Jewish system which one was the greatest. Right. And Jesus picked two.
Right. Now, what did he then respond to? Well, how did he respond to Jesus? And then how did Jesus respond back for a second time? Because don't forget, the Old Testament law the Old Testament law is not man-made. I mean, the Old Testament law is not God-inspired. It's a man-made stipulation. Because it's ancient Near East.
Inspired by God. That's the reason why Moses wrote it. Like, he even says the Lord commands a few times in there.
Yeah, I know. It says God says, X, Y, and Z, but those laws are actually derived from ancient Near East. They're not.
You're saying that he's wrong when he says God says.
No. You have God already accommodating an ancient Near Eastern way of life, and he picks and chooses certain laws that's already common in that era.
Saying that God chose man-made laws to say, "Hey, you guys obey this."
Yeah, that's what you see in the Old Testament.
Well, isn't that still laws from God? because then if he gives a stamp of approval and validation on laws that he probably would have commanded anyway. Instead, he chose to use tools that we already had.
And then why did he ultimately go about changing it and saying it's a temporary thing?
I don't know. That's a contradiction he's got to deal with.
Yeah, it's a contradiction.
Christianity is a spin-off cult of Judaism. It's that simple.
It just shows you the inconsistency in problems of Christianity.
It's like Christianity.
All right, have a good night.
Christianity.
See you, Wayne.
Yeah.
Christianity.
Sorry, I can't hear that. A lot of people talking.
I was saying Christianity, like the easiest way for me to look at it is Christianity is to Judaism what Mormonism is to Christianity. It's a spin-off cult. That's why the rules had to be changed. It's that simple. When you look at it and you look at what humans do and you can see it happening right now every single day, that explains the data way more easily.
That's what you think?
Newsflash, Rabbinic Judaism is actually the offshoot cult.
Both of them are offshoot cults. That can happen. Mormonism is also an offshoot cult.
Sophia, again, this is what I was saying earlier about ignorance. Second Temple Judaism is Christianity. Christianity is Second Temple Judaism. Rabbinic Judaism is a reform from when the temple was destroyed. It's completely different.
And what predates Second Temple? This is what I'm talking about. Like, it's a strain. If you were to think about it like you do with phylogeny, it comes from the same, I don't know what you would classify it as, kingdom. You can trace it and you can see it branch out at different paths whenever we have the data.
Right.
Why is it called Second Temple?
They're all.
There's a reason for that.
It was the Second Temple that was erected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's called the Second Temple because it's the second one.
It's not.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, we solved the problem, everybody.
Oh, wow, there we go. The first temple was first, and the second.
There was a second temple.
Yeah.
Are you talking about two different groups?
I'm talking about the fact that after the exile, they reformed back to quote unquote the original law from Josiah. Like when Josiah finds the law of Moses and Ezra and so on, cause them to go back to the law of Moses.
I think that's the tell right there. That's the tell.
No, because naturally they're coming out of exile and they need to go back to their original ways, and that's why it's important to consider it as Second Temple Judaism, not Rabbinic Judaism today. That has nothing to do
I just think
with
it's
first century Judaism.
I think it's really interesting to look at how men have used gods to control men before, how they're doing it right now, and then you go back and you have a king who discovers the lost books, and then after that, you get all like it's hard coded into it, and then you can see the different cultures.
But you made the argument, Sophia. You adamantly just said that Mormonism. You use the analogy of Mormonism.
Yeah.
And that Christianity is to Judaism as Mormonism is to Christianity, or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's
that is completely wrong.
Is it inspired by Judaism?
It's not inspired from Judaism. Christianity is Judaism, Second Temple Judaism.
Okay.
Because you might need to explain how something that happened 500 years before Christ is Christianity.
Yeah, because I'm calling bullshit. I'm sorry.
Well, the bridge between what happened 500 years and then up until the first century would be the Qumran community. That's why there's a lot of work and research going into that area. And the theology, like, say, two powers in heaven, in regards to the Godhead, that has, from the first gospel all the way to Revelation, that has clear Second Temple theology embedded within the pages in regards to the Godhead.
Yeah, you can see it evolve. Like, you can see where the ideas pop up and when some of the groups started and how they influenced the future developments of it. You can see that.
How does
No,
this
there's
relate
no,
to the
there's no
original
involvement.
question?
There's
You
no,
can't lump
you need to
Christianity into
do, what
just
you need to
Second
do,
Temple Judaism. It's an offshoot, one of many offshoots of it.
Yeah.
You can't say it is it. It's just
what you need to
one
do,
of many offshoots.
show me a teaching in the New Testament that would contradict Second Temple Judaism.
What you need to do is accept what General is saying, and then everything will be okay.
Oh, sure. It contradicts Sadducee belief of no actual.
Sadducees are not Second Temple Judaism.
It existed then.
But that's my point. The Sadducees would be the genuine cult.
Sadducees, the Pharisees, they all disagree with each other, and they disagree among themselves as well.
Right, but the Sadducees
there's
were
not
the minority.
one
In fact,
Second Temple Judaism. You keep on saying that. There's not one Judaism at the time.
No,
Okay.
if Christianity was indeed an offshoot, the only offshoot they would follow under would be the Sadducee, and then Sophia would have a point.
Okay, since we only have a few, since we only gonna have
or
hang
a
on.
Quran community. It could be a derivative of the Quran community.
Moderator is God. Excuse me, I'm trying to talk.
Theology.
All right, we're gonna have to mute. All right, Kelsey, I want to let him get in here because we're only gonna have like a half hour of this because this has been going on way too long, in my opinion. Kelsey, if you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So what exactly is your opinion on the topic? You probably know what the thing is already. So,
You know, honestly, I think
you're a little quiet.
in a
Can you
way,
get closer to the mic?
even asking, it's kind of like asking, you know, should we be allowed to question the church and stuff like that? And honestly, when the church becomes unquestionable, you get them hiding crimes and doing a lot of evil things. So even when you say, are we able to be mad at a God? You could use the same argument for the church, because realistically the church dictates in a way. Because
What God
if they
is.
wanted to in a
not
couple
so
hundred
much.
years,
The
they try
church-
to, in a way, erase the past books, right? Or change it in some way, and people wouldn't notice. So in the long run, they get a lot of money, and I think we should be able to question the church because they've got a lot of funds, and they're exempt from a lot.
To be fair, God is actually a little bit different from the church, because the church can't be wrong about.
I think, yeah, I understand that, but in the same sense,
I wouldn't make that.
when you have them saying things are right with genocide, right? And you have people arguing for that kind of stuff, yeah, we kind of do have a right to be mad at a God, because particularly the Christian God has selected races that it specifically likes, and will forgive the other ones only after a certain point. And I view it in a very dark sense. I mean, I think if it were true, this is probably one of the most vindictive gods and cruel gods I've ever seen. And I definitely think.
How many gods have you seen?
But I don't think we should judge past as much by our current standards. But truthfully, you still didn't need the genocide of all the animals and shit. You know, there was no reason for that. That's just brutality at that point.
And you can still see that level of brutality every single day with animals. Like, just go outside and watch bugs and watch how they have to deal with the predators around them. They get slaughtered every day, and they didn't do anything.
No.
I'm trying to figure out. You said that it was one of the worst, like, meanest gods he's ever seen. How many gods have you seen, and which ones are worse?
Like,
don't do
logic
that.
ideas wise.
Speaking metaphorically.
Metaphorically.
Literal.
Dude.
He sounded like he had an answer. I want to know.
You want to know what my answer is? You're being a smartass.
Oh,
we're trying to talk philosophically here, and we really don't need you.
Being philosophical is all about nitpicking, man.
Oh, right, it is. That's why I don't like it. It's like, what do you mean by what do you mean by what do you mean?
The wrong word if you want to be philosophical.
Right now, it's already very well established. I'm one of the least educated people here, so let's be a little bit fair.
Hey, you know what? To be fair, you might know a little more than I do. I consider myself one of the least educated people here. I'm not really an intellectual. Wow. I'm an artistic person. I just happen to have just a general kind of interest in some of the subjects that you guys talk about.
I'm just a random passerby.
Could I would admit that there are definitely some places where it was Christianity in particular was progressive for the time, right? But in certain ways, actually, it argued for a couple of steps back as well, even for that time. And
when was it progressive?
What? It was progressive at the time, but now, when people say that we live by the laws, we don't live by those laws. We don't, because there's thought crime. You can't have sin, which means you can't find other people's wives attractive. What if you're not even married to someone? You can't find anyone attractive. So do you at that point have free will? Has all of your free will been taken from you? Is that even a good thing to go to heaven?
Yeah, there's that too.
I'm just trying to figure out how it's progressive, or when it was progressive, or how it was progressive.
I'm a little bit lost.
Can't think of a.
I'm a little bit lost.
At the time it came up, that originally some of the ideas that were put in like 200 years later, like feeding of 5,000 and the more ideological stuff, it was really freaking weird, because they had the idea of feeding all the people, and that when it was inserted 200 years later, that was actually pretty progressive. But before that, no. During Jesus' time, no. But they actually didn't really care that much before that, for some reason, from what I've seen.
Well, if you think about Jesus in general, what he did was he took verses from being simply commands and argued that they're more about us loving each other, and that's kind of how he progressed Christianity forward, I think.
Oh, the whole of the law. Yeah.
He tried.
I don't even want to go into the whole of the law, like the entire fucking thing, personally.
Oh man, dude, that's a little crazy. Well, again, I guess this kind of just shows that we're kind of a bit of a standstill here. It's like, if you believe in your religion or whatnot, of course you're going to try to find a way to justify it, but I can't really justify mine anymore. And I guess it's just going to be up to everybody in themselves if they want to, keep going along with it, or eventually they might deconvert. They think there's not enough evidence, or again, I hate playing this card here, but it seems like a lot of atheists deep down seem to be pretty misotheistic as well. So, I mean, we were all pretty angry.
Are you saying that in that they believe in the God that they hate, or?
Well, I don't know. Like maybe there's like some sort of subconscious thing.
No, because I'll tell you for me. I remember when I believed, and I can still think like a believer. So
okay.
I can apply my knowledge to that and put myself in that position.
Okay, sure.
Fair enough. I believe in them.
You have to remember that in
philosophy,
ask, there's the concept of something being a physical entity and a mental entity. So you can talk about every conceivable concept of God, and you're never once conceding that he's a physical entity.
Yep.
Weird. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much going to, because we've been going on for a long time, I'm going to let everybody do their closing statements, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Mine's
well, from left to right, you're actually first on my screen.
No, I'm last.
No, you still get to do a closing statement as far as what you feel about the topic.
No, I don't have.
He wants the last word.
Okay, I am on the topic. I'm still strangely intrigued by the idea of is it even possible to have a universe in which good exists without evil, and maybe all of this is just so that the good and free will can have some sort of value. That's the only concept in which I can keep most of the omnis and the Christian concept of God coherent. And the simplest solution to all of these questions is God doesn't exist.
All right. So, Dragnot, if you're still there, do you have a concluding statement? Okay. Floyd, do you have a concluding statement?
I guess that's what I repeat at the very beginning, that I think if you can be mad at anyone regardless of who they are. If they're mistreating you, then you're going to be mad. It's irrelevant of who that person is. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. Kelsier, your concluding statement?
Well, you know what? I think I've said all I really needed to, because I don't think there's an argument for not being mad at a god. So, I mean, theoretically, right? At this point, without anything confirmed, it's like being mad that someone's mad at an idea.
Okay. Carrie, your concluding statement?
I think I pretty much said everything I wanted to say on the subject. It was just a matter of a lot of these discussions are always going to break down to what God are you talking about? Because the different views of the different types of gods that are out there will all have a unique answer to the question, including the ones where, okay, say we're not talking about an omni-god, we're just talking about a maximal god of some sort, in which case you can have situations where the god's not going to get things right. And so, if you, long story short, just round up all the theists and throw them into a pit in which everyone lives, then we'll talk about that god.
Right. All right. Ocean, your concluding statement?
I think I'm kind of piggybacking off of what Carrie said by saying what I'm going to say, but I think that there's a couple of terms in the question that needed to be clarified. And this one is what we mean by angry. Another is what we mean by right. And we talked a little bit about justification. And the other is, as Carrie pointed out, what we mean by God. So there's a lot of things that need to be defined pretty exhaustively before we actually deal with the question in a way where there can be an answer. But because if we have multiple, I think that all of those statements can be dealt with multiple definitions. And when you don't organize the conversation where you're dealing with one definition after another, because you can have multiple ways of interpreting the question with different definitions. And I think that over the course of this conversation, we kind of played mix and match with the different definitions of each of those three words and got a lot of different outcomes.
Your final statement, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here. So ultimately, it's only rational and justified to be angry at some sort of evil. And in that sense, you can only be mad at God in a rational sense, since God is the ultimate end of all rational creatures. So, yeah, that's my answer that's my final statement.
Okay, Sophia?
Damn, that's a good point. I wish that was brought up earlier.
Sophia, your final statement?
Yeah, pretty much what other people have said. It really depends on which god we're talking about. But generally, I think it's perfectly reasonable. And if we're talking about go through scripture, that god, 100% justified.
All right. And I guess right, and I guess my final thing would be having the right. Well, I mean, according to him, no, because we're all his creation. But as far as being justified, just in a colloquial sense, as far as what we're talking about when people normally help, as on a humanitarian kind of level, I'd probably say no. I think right, actually, no, yes. The thing is that despite the fact that, you know, there is a lot of good things in religion and Christianity, that I can't get over the bad things. And like there's a dark side to it. And I think to ignore all that stuff and to basically just pretend like it doesn't, or the, you know, not be able to answer the hard questions like that, I don't see that as necessarily something that I can just kind of, I guess, keep supporting. Because I think a lot of you people that know me from back in the day of the community, I used to be a Christian. That was my thing. And then I could no longer like support that side anymore. Like it just went too much against who I was as a person. And I saw as a people made for, you know, this God being quote unquote immoral. But yeah, so that's basically my closing statement. The last thing I will say is this has been a very good conversation. I want to thank everybody who was watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got like up to like 35 viewers at one point. That was awesome. And even now we're still going on pretty strong. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. Those people that participated, thanks for doing your part. You really helped bring the conversation forward, and we learned some things off each other, or maybe not. Depends. Maybe some people just, oh, it's the same thing I've heard a million times. But either way, though, I mean, it made the conversation interesting. I'm glad we got some theists in there, and I'm sorry if, you know, I got a little bit antagonistic, but this is my theological position, so I mean, I'm going to get antagonistic, I guess. But yeah, if people actually want to discuss this kind of thing with me, I'd be happy to debate a theist on this kind of subject. I mean, most people are used to the whole "does God exist" thing, but instead, that'd be cool if there was more debates about should this God even be worshipped in the first place? Because hey, I'm right there with you. I agree he exists. So let me be G-Man here and say, yeah, go ahead, challenge me to debate. I can probably kick your butt. So yeah. So thanks everybody for participating. If you like this conversation, if the conversation brought you joy or anger, consider subscribing to the Great Debate Community channel and join the Great Debate Community on Google+, where we talk about religion, philosophy, science, and we show you why you're wrong and you show us why we're wrong. So it's kind of a cool deal. So, you know, we all get to yell at each other and, you know, act like a bunch of babies on the internet. So thanks. Be sure to subscribe to Steve McRae. He's the owner of this Great Debate Community. I mean, after all, I mean, if Steve McRae is technically our god, so I mean, do we have any right to not subscribe? I mean, they'll let you be the judge of that. So yeah, be sure to subscribe. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been your boy Trill The Cyberspace Fay. And
don't forget to click the notify button to become part of our notification crew.